Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? Really like that. You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a terrific Tuesday. Brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. I got a loaded one for you, but I want to start with this right here, especially after last night's showing from the Florida State Seminoles. Gonna be honest with you, and not to do the hindsight's 2020 thing, but I do believe the signs were always there. The signs were always there, man. Florida State fans and Florida State brass really excused the Orange Bowl whole performance. The opting out, the 63-3, everything was just kind of bypassed. They looked away as if it didn't matter, right? It's a meaningless game. It's warranted anger. You know, we got snubbed worse than anybody in the history of college football. This was warranted. These kids have the right to feel upset about this, all that good stuff. And to an extent, I understand it. But I believe, in my heart of hearts, and in my opinion, I think Florida State fans, Florida State brass, I think Florida State's program as a whole, you missed the red flag, the most important red flag. And not to do the we told you so or we pointed it out, but I thought there was a very obvious red flag, all right, from this Florida State program, specifically Mike Norvell. And that was right after they finished 5th in that final ranking a year ago, right? Mike Norvell says what he says to his football program, has a message, whatever the message was, it doesn't matter. The mistake and the red flag and the lack of emotional awareness around your own football program, in my opinion, was the day he decided to leave for the recruiting trail right after that, under the assumption that he would come back to a football team that was still relatively intact. Sure, maybe some of these first-round draft picks might opt out of this quote-unquote meaningless bowl game, but surely the entire program will not tuck tail and run. He's even admitted it was an error. It was an error of I thought everything was going to be okay. He comes back, everything's not okay, right? I thought that was an obvious sign of like, whoa, maybe coach doesn't have a full grasp of what's going around in his locker room, or at least what's going around in his program, because again, maybe he hasn't had all these guys for 4 years. Maybe he hasn't had all these guys for 5 years, right? Hell, he's only been here 3 years. We had to kind of build this thing off of a transfer portal identity, right? We kind of had to go into this thing with this type of identity. I thought the red flag wasn't, wow, they had a bunch of opt-outs, or wow, look how bad they got beat by Georgia. I thought the major red flag in the whole entire situation was the coach admitted to not understanding where his team's emotional feelings were, or where they were from an IQ standpoint. It seemed to me like the coach had a major disconnect with his own football program. That's a hey, watch out now. That's a big red flag in my opinion. Now he's 0-2, right? Now he's 0-2. Boston College just came down to Doak Walker, put up 270 on the ground on you, right? Put 270 on the ground on you. Not great stuff. Oh, by the way, we spent the whole entire offseason ad nauseum allowing talk about last year. Not great, right? So now we got to turn around a whole program that basically, I think 40 football players on this football team just got here on the 2 deep. All right, it's a lot of this football team that is brand new to this football team. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think this is all 100% all Mike Norvell. This 0-2 start, I don't. I'm going to put a lot of blame, and it ultimately falls on him, but I'm going to put a lot of blame on that player personnel department, that scouting department, whoever was in charge and is going to take the bill in that building for the groceries that they went out and bought. Because the groceries that they went out and bought are not very good. And we know that. And I think, honestly, we kind of knew that. Now, I picked them to make the college football playoff because I thought the ACC was that bad. The ACC is that bad. I just didn't realize they were going to be a part of it. All right. But I kind of pointed these things out going into the season, despite the fact that I picked them to make the playoff. Hey guys, they went out and bought a bunch of football players that weren't getting PT elsewhere, that weren't doing great elsewhere, right? Malik Benson, really, really talented football player. Loved him coming out of junior college. He couldn't really find the field at Alabama. Not consistently explosive. Couldn't run downfield in a straight line well for that program. Which, I don't know if y'all watched Alabama last year, but that's kind of what Tommy Rees and Jalen Milroe did. They ran straight really well. They threw the ball downfield really, really well. If that guy couldn't do that there, why is he going to suddenly magically do it there, right? Jaylen Brown couldn't get on the field at LSU last year as a true freshman, all right? Played in 3 games, didn't get a lot of burn. So it's not like you went out and bought great ones. Richie Leonard, serviceable SEC starter. But we're not talking about a superstar offensive guard from Florida. We're not talking about a super elite football player. We're talking about a serviceable, good football player. TJ Ferguson, Florida State fans hopped in my mention and said, oh, he don't even start for us, buddy. He's on the 2 deep. He going to play for you. Couldn't play for a football team like Alabama last year or the year before or the year before that. All right, and he has a massive personal foul in that football game against Boston College last night. Roydell Williams, the running back, couldn't play at Alabama. Was the 3, would have been the 3 going into that football roster this year. Marvin Jones couldn't play at Georgia. You got groceries, they weren't good ones, and worst of all, most expensive of all. Boy, you bought spoiled steak goods, spoiled steak with DJU, right? The prime of the feature of the course of the meal that I'm making up this analogy on the fly right now, which is why it sounds like shit. The most expensive portion of this meal is not great, and it was no signs of being great, by the way. Everyone just thought you were going to be able to run the football out of this situation at the quarterback room, guys. There were a lot of signs on the wall that this wasn't going to go well for Florida State, and I think Saban said it best. He was ironically talking about Ohio State and their roster value, but I thought he said it best on College Game Day. Spend $18 million all you want, which is Florida State's roster value this year. They've told us this, by the way, because Ingram Smith wanted to run his mouth about how they're far and away in advance and everybody else is doing it stupidly with regards to the NIL collective. You can have $18 million. Talk about it all you want. If you go out and buy players, you're shit out of luck. And I think that's what we got going on. Matter of fact, I know that's what we got going on at Florida State. You bought bad groceries, all right? And by the way, I don't think there's any signs that they're moving away from this strategy, okay? Because guess what? In that article where Ingram Smith's running his mouth after a Dublin loss about their NIL collective, right? Out there running it, talking about, hey, the new strategy is we were retaining, we were buying transfer portals. We done locked that up. We're good here. Now we're going to focus on the high school. Are you? Are you focusing on the high school right now? Because in 2025, you're ranked 18th on the consensus rankings, and you have 13 commits. It don't look like you're focusing on the high school rankings to me, or the high school recruiting trail to me. So I don't love, and I honestly, looking at it like this, when you lay it out like this, I understand why they were so goddamn pissed off last year. I think maybe somebody knew this wasn't very retainable. Mm-hmm. This wasn't very repeatable. This run for them last year, that window was very, very tight. It doesn't look like there's a lot of momentum at this program right now, unfortunately, because I think Florida State being good is good for football and good for college football. It's a big brand.
Yeah, the irony of this is that I keep thinking about the Dabo Swinney quote about the transfer portal where he goes, most of the players in the transfer portal aren't good enough to play for us. And when you build your roster with guys that aren't really good enough to play on other teams, you're probably not going to have the best roster. Now, obviously, they had a big hit last year with that. They found some diamonds in the rough, but you can't keep making that the sustainable way to build your program. That has to be the year one thing where it's kind of a quick fix. Hey, we need a really good season. Let's go out and get as many good guys as we can, and then we can focus on building through the recruiting window. And
this may be a much better football team next year, just like it was a much better football team year two after they reloaded on the transfer portal when he first got there. You know, that last year roster was the year two with all of those new guys, all those transfers. They had stayed there. They brought them back a second year, right? So maybe next year is much better, but like I don't foresee things looking great because they still have a problem at quarterback. All right, and Florida State fans may be bullish on Luke Cromanoke. My question is, why wasn't he thrown in that football game at some point last night? It looked to me like there was a very obvious sign that DJU was not getting it done. All right, and you're one half away from your college football playoff hopes being gone. Yeah. Right, you lose that game last night at half. It looks like they're going to lose it. Right? Why not? Why not throw Luke Cromanoke in that football game unless he's not it? You know what I mean? Like I think they're going to be right back in the portal looking for a quarterback next year.
They definitely are.
I just think that there's also starting to be this buildup of college football history that is kind of warning us of teams like FSU, where they have these year one flare-ups, so then there's kind of this sharp downfall right after. FSU is an example of this now. Michigan State was an example of this. Sam Pittman, to an extent, was an example of this at Arkansas. You could even kind of throw TCU into this mix as well with Sonny Dykes. There's starting to be some buildup of examples of these teams where you have one great year, and people think you might carry that momentum into the next year and you might be able to replicate it. And time again, it seems like that process has failed. So I think now when we see these types of things, when we recognize a roster like this, like someone that really hunts after the portal, I think you kind of have to start holding back on your expectations for them.
It's almost like the portal is a drug because it's such a quick hit for you that it's like, oh my gosh, we just solved all of our problems on our roster in 1 year. And then you realize those problems come right back up again because all those portal guys are most likely only have 1 or 2 years of eligibility left. So then you once again, it's like, well, I guess we got to go back to the portal, and you get caught in this cycle of where you have these up and down seasons. And I don't think, again, we all agree it's not sustainable.
At a program like Florida State where they do have that kind of money, I think they had the right idea. I don't think they executed it at the right time. And here's what I mean by that, right? They went all in on the portal early to make sure Mike Norvell's, program turned around quickly, and they did it. They did it successfully. But if that 2024 recruiting class, that class had to be home run. Now, I believe it was top 8, top 12. Will you look that up for me? They did relatively well in 2024. They lost out on KJ Bolden, though. That was a major L, right, on the recruiting front from them. But 2025, they have failed to roll that recruiting momentum into that class. And that to me is the pitfall of this, because they've obviously bought bad groceries here, but I don't think they intended to make this long-term we're going to reload every single year via the transfer portal. I think they intended to get some success on the recruiting trail based off wins. Do you have that for me?
They were finished 12th last year.
12th.
Yeah.
I thought it was around that area. See, still not good enough.
No, it's
not good enough. You finished in you had the year of years for you guys, 13-0. You needed to be hitting home run after home run after home run, top 10, top 5, top 8 class. That way, in years to come, that 2024 class is bolstering your roster moving forward. 8's still good, I guarantee, or 12's still good. I bet it was the number 1 class in the ACC, maybe number 2. So it's still really, really good.
Just behind Clemson, but right behind them.
Okay, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Clemson's. You gotta watch it. I'm gonna put you on game with the rankings right quick, particularly with some of these on 24/7 and some of these recruiting ranking sites. How big is your team site for that network? You follow me? Is the Clemson site a monster for the 24/7 network? They might get a bump every now and then, just because they got lots of readership. Just putting you on game every once in a while. But nonetheless, didn't do well enough, in my opinion, turning that around. I thought the signs were kind of on the wall for this, especially when you go out and buy a quarterback that we all think's cooked. We all think's cooked, man. We don't. Nobody's got faith in holding on to that DJU stock they bought 5 years ago. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. We got Guess the Lines. It is a fine Tuesday here on the Film Guy Network. Kirby has a take about the state of Florida.
Yep.
All right. I just saw a take about Florida.
Colleges within the state of Florida.
I just saw a take about Florida in the chat. I figured it was about the Florida Gators. So I developed a take of my own. So we might have 2 takes about the state of Florida and the Florida Gators coming up here in just a second. Who's swinging and missing in the portal? We just talked about Florida State buying some bad groceries. There's some other football programs that have lost a good bit of money in their portal. Lane continues to troll out there at Ole Miss. I thought this one was pretty funny today. New AP poll came out today. We've got some reactions for you. And who is King Flop? Who is out here flopping already with high expectations going into the college football season, ultimately to fall on their face in week 1? Shout out to you guys for being here today. Let me ad-lib while I find my BetUS read. Somebody fill me here. Fill in for me here.
Well, I think you just killed the dead air right there. I think that was a great solution for that.
Don't worry.
I am intrigued about these 2 Florida takes. I myself did not formulate one.
Oh, man.
Are you looking for a new book this season? BetUS is the answer. Fastest payouts in the industry, 125% sign-up bonus. Up up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process. Check out my BetUS link in the description below. We got a great segment coming up for you right now. It's Guess the Lines. I'm going to tell you right now, every single one of these lines presented today is made available on BetUS. Go make your ass some cash right now. BetUS link in the description. Jay Will, what do you got for me, baby?
Well, we're hitting Guess the Lines right now.
Guess the lines. Write me out. Where else would we go?
All right. I'm just checking in, making sure. All right. The first one we got, I tried to make sure that I chose some football games that are still meaningful, but also maybe games that you guys aren't quite familiar with, the lines, because I know that as we do our jobs, obviously you got to check in on them and whatnot. But first one I got, Georgia Tech versus Syracuse.
Oh, the Q's. This one's up in New York, huh?
It is.
All right. Georgia Tech, 2-0, riding high. Give me Tech favored by 4.5.
That's a good one. I think this line will be kind of...
You bet the under on this game?
I did.
It's 61.5.
61.5 is the under.
Both made available on BetUS.
Yeah, I think this line is going to kind of be lower in Georgia Tech's favor just because of that offensive explosion you saw from Syracuse. And we don't really have a proof of concept of what Syracuse is under Fran Brown with Kyle McCord. So I think you're going to get a lower line. I have it at 3.5 right now.
It is at Georgia Tech -3. So Curb gets the win on that one.
Dang. I like Georgia Tech by a tud in that game.
Yeah, that's.
But my only fear is they can't play defense. Because that dome does put up a lot of points for some reason.
Yeah,
I feel like every time I look up Q's, if they're going to win it, they're winning it scoring 45.
And Syracuse is one of these teams where it's like, hey, you're a pretty good ACC program coming to New York. We'll beat you. It's fine. They do this once every few years.
Do you feel confident in saying if Syracuse wins that football game, the over hit?
Yeah.
All right.
I would think so.
That or just Tech couldn't do enough with the ball. And
all right, so Kirby's got one there.
The only thing, too, that I would kind of be fearful of as a Georgia Tech fan going into that football game is the fear that Kyle McCord might outplay Haynes King from a quarterback standpoint.
Yeah.
I think that obviously Haynes King has the edge there with his legs. He can add in there more effectively than Kyle McCord can. But Kyle McCord played really well last week for Syracuse. So if he keeps that rolling.
Like 375 and 4 tuds, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was a good performance.
I think he earned himself a helmet sticker on College Football Final. You can tell I was up late watching college football on Saturday. Good. I think I watched 4 rounds of College Football Final. Way too much Dan Mullen for me. He's good on TV, but that was a little bit much. Watching 4 hours of the Mullen man.
Yeah, a little much. All right, I got another line for you. Brought to you by BetUS, actually. Arkansas versus Oklahoma State.
This game's in Oklahoma State, isn't it?
Yes. This is in Norman.
Yeah, that's a tough line. I know people are going to be...
That's Stillwater. I'm an idiot.
I know people are going to be kind of tough on Arkansas or kind of high on Arkansas this year just because of what they did against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Hey. My Taylor Green algo was crazy.
It was.
Don't be hating on the man.
They scored every single possession?
I'm taking a peek weekly at Taylor Green.
There's definitely a positive vibe around this team right now that Sam Pittman's created, which is great for him because, I mean...
Is this a noon kick?
I have no idea.
It might create more security in his job, but I still think Oklahoma State's going to win this by like a touchdown at least, or at least that's what Vegas is going to give them.
You think it's a full tud?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Oklahoma State -3.5.
It is Oklahoma State -7.5.
Wow, you're cheating.
Well, to me, like, Oklahoma State is viewed as like this Big 12 contender and a top 25 football team.
Word?
But they continue to be like...
That's how people feel about them, huh?
Yeah. I would think so.
I mean, Mike Gundy is the epitome of like, hey, let's just go 9-3 and we'll be top 15 at some point.
I think people just assume they're 8-4.
Yeah,
9-3.
Yeah,
and just stamp them that. And
outside
of Ollie Gordon, I don't know a thing.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I'll learn this weekend. I'll be watching this game. I'll be taking a peek.
It's a good game to take.
All right, Kirby's up 2-0. Is he going to go 5-0 right here?
You got 3 more chances. You could have the reverse sweep right here.
I don't know.
All right, third game.
I need to cheat better at this.
Kansas versus Illinois.
I'm going first here.
Yeah, it's you.
The Jayhawks are certainly going to be favored in this football game. It being on the road, though, I don't know much if any points are being given Illinois' way via a home field advantage in a college football game. I'm going to say Kansas -7.5.
I think they're honestly going to be favored more. I'm personally very high on the Jayhawks this year.
Didn't Illinois look pretty decent last week?
They did, but I don't see how you can stop a quarterback like Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal and all the receiver talent that they have this year. I mean, they've got a lot of experience on that offensive and defensive side of the ball. I'd go Kansas -8.5.
What'd you say?
7.5.
Okay, Brooks wins this one. Kansas minus 5.5. That 5.5
That's
over
low.
on BetUS, kind of tasty.
That's value. That's value right there. Are we all hammering the Jayhawks right now?
I think I might have to.
Let's go smoke a J.
I love it. All right. Speaking of
Good
smoking a
setup.
Jays, we're going to go to Colorado right here. Colorado versus Nebraska.
Look at the kid.
I tweeted out this week that it's going to be so funny when Dylan Rail and Nebraska take away the media darling title from Colorado after they beat them. I think Nebraska wins this game handily. I would go Nebraska like minus 10. But with Vegas, I would say it's probably more like a 9.5, 9 line. I'll go Nebraska minus 9.
I got a Nebraska minus 7.5. They're certainly favored by a touchdown at least.
Brooks, you nailed it again. Nebraska minus 7. A chance to win it right here. The reverse sweep's still alive.
You smell that? A little bit of a comeback.
I love smelling a good comeback. Boise State versus Oregon, the final one, game 5. Bet US line right here.
It's you first, Brooks.
Come on, give me your thoughts.
Hey, look, Oregon, don't sleep on them. We told you last week, get just a little bit weird with the score. Out there with the Idaho Vandals, man. They lost the explosive battle. Very well could lose the explosive battle here against Boise State. However, Boise State, not a passing football team. I don't think they're going to be lighting it up with regards to throwing the football. This is a Ginty-led football team. They like to put it on the ground, run that rock. That's not necessarily a winnable strategy versus the Ducks. Give me Oregon minus 16.5.
I really like Dan Lanning's defenses in these positions. The 4-2-5 that Dan Lanning runs has always been predicated on stopping runs. It's what made Georgia so good over the years while he was there. I like Oregon minus 18.5 in this game. I think they absolutely shut down their offense. Dylan Gabriel has a really good second outing, and they kind of right the ship of what happened last week.
For the win, who gets it?
What'd you say?
16.5.
16, you said?
18.
Kirby gets his. Minus 19 for Oregon. Very close, though.
Yeah.
Very gallant effort right there.
It was a big-time comeback. All of those lines brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. Remember, you can use the link in the description of this video. Go sign up today. You'll get up to $2,000, 125% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits over there. My man, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and review. And if you have missed any portion of tonight's broadcast, it will be made readily available. However, wherever you get your podcast, just search the Film Guy Network and make sure you leave us some reviews over there. I don't think we have enough reviews on podcasts. I think that's why we don't climb enough charts over there. Not that I'm all like leading the way with the podcast chart numbers. It's not my big primary concern. I care about how many people are watching us live. Honestly.
Tube.
Yeah, the tube and the live concurrent viewers. That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get as many people to schedule their lives around me. That's what I want.
Pun intended?
No, I was just making a joke about my selfishness.
Oh.
And I guess that's where I was going. But no, I want as many live people as possible.
Absolutely.
Because the chat being fun, that's fun. Feeling that this show is large, you know what I mean? That's fun. And it has been large lately. I got some numbers in the local hour that I want to thank you guys for, because we've been going absolutely crazy in terms of the numeros as of late. Kirby, you got to take. Let me hear this take.
I did. So, obviously, we all watched what Florida State put on the field last night and how it was, I mean, for lack of a better word, just flat out embarrassing. Some would say it was dog shit. So, watching this, and I was thinking, like, what's happened to the state of Florida? Obviously, Florida State's having a down year. Florida looked horrible. The only team that's really carrying the torch for the state right now is Miami, and Miami hasn't traditionally been doing it. So, it got me thinking, are Florida teams, the big three, Miami, Florida State, Florida, are they actually elite programs, or are they just mid? I went back and did some research on the last 15 years of it. The last 15 years, Florida State, Miami, there's been 15 years, 3 teams, 45 seasons, 45 recruiting classes. They've had a combined record of 364, 210. That's 63% wins. Not great over 15 years. They've had 11 losing seasons total. They've had just 7 top 5 classes. That means if you are a team in the state of Florida over the last 15 years, you have a better chance of having a losing season than signing a top 5 class.
That's pretty mid.
That's very mid. They've had 1 national title, 14 combined head coaches, which is an average of about a new head coach every 3.2 years. 4 conference titles out of all of those, and I think Florida State's got 3 of them. Actually, Florida State has all of them.
Ooh.
So looking at all this, it's like, are we talking about these programs as if they're elite? And we've also, there's the Bobby Bowden era, there's the Urban Meyer era, there's the Steve Spurrier era, Larry Coker, all those things. What do they all have in common? Those are elite college football Hall of Fame caliber coaches. They're not just, really good coaches. So is it these programs are elite, or these programs' brand names were made elite because of Hall of Fame coaches. I'm thinking it's more the first one, just because the last 15 years you haven't been able to prove anything.
I mean, how many football programs can just roll the ball out and win 10 games anyways without elite coaching? That would be my one pushback on this.
The only one is Ohio State that I can think of.
Correct. Ohio State feels like that. They win no matter what.
Right, but I'm not.
The last 65 years, I bet Georgia's averaged 9 wins.
Probably out that. But it's not even like 9 or 8 wins. It's a quarter of your seasons or losing seasons.
That's pretty tough.
Like you've signed a top 5 class 7 times, and Florida State had 6 of them.
I would argue, and it is decided last 2 decades mid in the state of Florida, especially with that. I understand the take. I think we don't remember the prime of Miami. We don't remember the prime of Florida State. We don't remember the prime of Spurrier. But you have to understand there was a time period of college football in the 90s where Miami, Florida State, and Florida were 3 of the top 5 football teams in college football. And the way that they did it was hammering their state. They kept all of that talent in the state. Now, something happened, and I think it was Saban at LSU, to be honest with you. He kind of started this whole, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the time and the resources and the money to go down to Florida and recruit. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to pull up some of these guys, right? And then it became a heavily combative recruiting ground,
correct,
right? Where Schnellenberger at Miami could just go down to Coral Gables or, the Miami Gardens of the world and South Florida, South Miami, and just say, all right, well, there's 3 dozen football players here that could come play for me in Miami. I'm going to take them all. And those 3 dozen football players happen to be 3 dozen of the top 500 players in the world or in recruiting. So I think it was a lot easier for them. Now it's become a much, much more competitive and much more battleground in terms of recruiting in that state. I do like the take. I had another take.
What's that?
About football in general in the state of Florida, but it's actually about the University of Florida. And I think it kind of plays into what you're talking about because I bet you could do this with Florida State. I bet you could do this, maybe not to the extent of Miami, because I think Miami's run was about players more so than about coaches. I mean, you mentioned Larry Coker. He wasn't even the Hall of Fame coach in that mix. It was Jimmy Johnson and Schnellenberger. Okay, those 2 football coaches. Jimmy Johnson, obviously the more famous one there. But you could do this at other football programs, I would imagine. But I did this experiment with Florida today. Guys, Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier accounted for 187 wins, 12 10-win seasons, and 3 national titles. Okay, those 2 football coaches accounted for 81% win percentage. They won 81% of the football games they lined up and played as football coach, or lined up and coached as football coaches. Outside of that, the win percentage at the University of Florida is 51% or 55%, excuse me. They win 55% of their football games in which are not coached by men named Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier. That's not good. That is not a good football program outside of those 2 football coaches who, by the way, only account for about 18 years of that program's history. The Florida football program did not experience a 10-win season until Steve Spurrier existed. What? Like before Steve Spurrier, Florida football was not good. All right, Florida football is not good at all. Hey, before Schnellenberger, Miami football, not good at all. Before Bobby Bowden, Florida State football, not good at all.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of this in the state of Florida. So I think it's it kind of plays out with what you're saying.
I just did the research on that. Neither Miami nor Florida State had a 10-win season prior to Schellenberger or Bobby Bowden going to, and that's from like 54 to 70. So is it that these programs are historically elite, or they've had some amazing runs with Hall of Fame coaches? Now, Larry Coker's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's on the ballot, and he will probably get in at some point simply because of what he did for Miami and UTSA.
I think that what also has hindered all 3 of those programs is that once all of their runs were over, it was Alabama immediately takes over. And even Nick Saban at LSU, you kind of got after this a little bit, Brooks, too, is Nick Saban goes to Alabama. he starts recruiting the state of Florida. Well, then he goes to Alabama, and he's recruiting the state of Florida. Then Georgia comes along. They're recruiting the state of Florida. And then now LSU has already tapped into that one as well. So when they're good, they're recruiting the state of Florida. All these programs that surround and are near the border of Florida, they're all going into the state of Florida, and they're getting these blue chip recruits and bringing them to their school. And it's making it really, really hard for Florida State, Florida, and Miami to get those kids. And not only because they're competing with two other prestigious programs within their own state, but all these other states are coming in and taking. Nobody has really locked down the border of Florida. If more so, the people who have locked it down better than all three of those programs aren't even in the state.
Ain't nobody really, quote unquote, locking it down. I looked at it last class, 2024, Ohio State. These are the top players ranked, the classes that they went to. Ohio State, Georgia, Florida, Colorado, Oklahoma, Clemson, Alabama, Miami, USC, Miami, Texas, Florida State, Florida, Penn State got in the mix there for a kid down in Florida. So, like, it's highly, highly competitive in terms of, I mean, shit. Dude, West Virginia went down to Florida and got a top 35 player. Huh?
Attaboy Neil Brown.
Bro, you think Howard Schnellenberger ever had to beef up with a West Virginia football coach back in the day?
No.
Hell no. Absolutely not. And then the random USF commit with a top 36 eval. Love that a lot.
But yeah, that was just kind of my take of, like, everyone always treats when Florida State, Miami, or Florida are bad. It's like, oh, it's such a shame to see these historic programs not being able to succeed or be their former glory. When the reality is, like, they've never been, like, consistently great. They had spurts with absolutely elite head coaching. And that's not to say you can't hire an elite head coach and be back to this pedestal where you were, but it's not like this should be the standard at Florida State, Florida, and Miami.
I feel like Michigan falls into this category, but they've just always had great coaches. Ohio State fits in the category. Georgia has, like I said, perennially been above average. LSU feels this way.
Yep.
LSU feels like they've always been good, especially now after post Saban. LSU feels like they're almost stamped 10 wins every year.
Yeah.
What are some other programs? Texas didn't have this. Texas went down. Yeah. Oklahoma's had this for the last 25 years.
Nebraska.
Maybe last 40.
Yeah. Nebraska had it all.
They were good well into the 80s.
Yeah.
So Oklahoma's got this.
Nebraska had it all the way up to, like, the early 2000s.
They flamed out. They're not here anymore.
Notre Dame to an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not.
Dude, if you go 7-5 in Notre Dame, you're fired.
Yeah.
So that you're right. Notre Dame is in this mix. Who else?
Is Oregon?
No, not before Chip Kelly. And there were times in between Chip Kelly and Dan where it wasn't great.
Yeah.
It was okay, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's really it.
USC's been being mentioned in the chat. I feel like they were always good, even before Pete Carroll, but not after because all the sanctions. No. So they didn't sustain it. So they're out of this.
Took them a while to get back.
Yeah,
up.
they're no longer. They're closer to. They're coming back now, but that was kind of a fading out after that. We got a super chat right here, and we're kind of talking about Florida, so let's kind of hammer this right now. Stick asks, what's your appraisal of Napier? What is he doing right, and what is he obviously doing wrong from your observations? First and foremost, he has not handled the media very well.
No.
Not that it matters, but it kind of does. All right, so and I got this very early on down there when I went down to Jacksonville 2 years ago. I think it was his very first game. I was asking the beat, or we went out that night. I was like, what do y'all think of the guy? And I had gotten done watching tape of them. And his first year coaching, I felt like they were doing the right things, to be honest with you. I felt like schematically what they were doing was making sense. And I've always talked about when I evaluate film, that's what I'm going into. Like, do you have a plan? Is it obviously you have a plan? Are you sticking to the plan? If the plan doesn't work, are you adjusting? And I saw all of these signs on tape of like a relatively fundamentally sound football coach and a football team. And immediately I asked the beat reporters, like, what do y'all think? It's he's cooked. Don't like him. I'm like, well, why? And then all this stuff starts rolling out, and like he had lost the media very, very quickly, despite all the access it seemed that he was giving those guys. That was kind of a immediate run down the hill early on. But in terms of what he's doing on the recruiting trail, all that momentum failed immediately. And you can't be a great football coach if you're a terrible game management guy. And it seemed to me very early on he just couldn't figure all that stuff out either. Seemed very overwhelmed to me, and just doing too much. And the problem with that has always been, in my opinion, the refusal to give up play call.
Yep.
And that's just been it for me.
I think that maybe what Billy Napier might be an example of is that we're kind of getting further and further away from what you can do at a G5 program is replicable to what you can do now at one of these Power 4 programs, because I don't think that they're run the same anymore, because they're not. I mean, you have more assets that you can work with now. You have the availability to more things, the transfer portal, and you're using the transfer portal very differently than how you are at a G5 program. Like, you're not getting these retreads or anything like that. You are to an extent at some of these programs, but you're trying to get like impactful, like starters coming to your football team. And I just think that it's not this easy, like, oh, it's just a step forward in the process for me now. Like, it's just a small leap forward. Like, this is another stepping stone for me. I think that there's a very wide margin, this big valley now between how you are a head coach at a G5 program and how you have to be a head coach at one of these Power 4 programs. I think it's very different now. And I think it's making the transition a little tough on some of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot more opportunities at a Power 4 than on a G5, but you also have a lot more responsibilities that you've probably never had to worry about. So that when you get there, it's kind of like drinking out of a fire hose, like we say all the time. Like, you get there and it's like, holy shit, NIL, transfer portal, all these things I have to worry about now, my roster, like stuff that you had to worry about at a group of 5, but it wasn't necessarily as prominent in the back of your head every day. And I mean, I think that's why we saw him hire such a ridiculously large staff, and everyone kind of clowned him for that. And that's why in-game decisions are kind of going wrong, because he's just too overwhelmed, it seems.
You know what people have failed to realize? Just something very basic about being an SEC football coach.
What's that?
You're the crown jewel. Every time someone's important that's on campus, you're the highest paid employee, dude. They're going to roll you out, make you talk to them.
Yeah.
If they have anything going on that's of any importance, if there's an important chancellor on board, or if there's anybody that's in town that day, or if there's any important meeting, you got to swing by and show face. All right, so like your schedule's completely blown up. It's not just on top of everything else, being a head football coach. It's being the face of an organization, being the face of a multi-million-dollar business, which is what SEC football is.
Yep.
Shoot, some of these coaches are the crown jewel of the entire state.
Yeah.
Not just your university.
Giving shouts out to Aflac when they're putting helmets on. Mm-hmm. He's a new face of Aflac, right?
I think, yeah.
It's Dion, but it's going to be Kirby, right? We're going to get a Kirby Aflac commercial soon. Y'all didn't catch all that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he did it in his press conference.
Bro, the first press conference, he was slinging Aflac reads in the first press conference on Monday before the Clemson game.
Yeah,
opening statement.
Yeah, but I think he always does that in those opening bowl games, because when it was the Chick-fil-A opener, he was also doing the same thing, was he not?
It smelled green. You know what I mean?
I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah. I can definitely see it, but I don't know. I don't see Kirby Smart doing it.
It was a little heavy on the Aflac love. That's all I'm saying.
It's fine.
Normally, it's fine venue, great event. Shout out to my fans. Not the amount of stuff that Aflac does for this state. You know what I mean? It was a little bit much. But hey, smell green. That's all I mean. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go get your cash. Talk about Florida State and DJU swinging and missing on the portal. And it's an expensive swing and miss, right? You pay for a quarterback in the portal, you're spending about $1 and a half baseline.
I don't think it's expensive from your bottom line standpoint as much as it is you basically lost a season because of this.
Oh, yeah, and you're leveraging yourself tremendously, right?
Yeah.
You're leveraging yourself at a high extent on one guy who's just going to show up and hopefully save your program. There's a lot of teams that have swung and missed off rip, we already know, and already feel about that, right? And a lot of these guys going into this, we kind of felt a little bit stinky about in the first place, right? Nobody was out here loving the DJU signing. I don't even think Florida State fans, they might have talked themselves into it, but I think they were kind of like, shit, I wish we would have got Cam Ward the whole entire time, right? What's McCall's first name? Grayson. We were the anti-Grayson McCall deep state here all off season. NC State fans bought into that one. you got stinky goods. It feels like that already immediately. The Tyler Van Dyke stuff, he scored 28 points against Western Michigan. That doesn't feel great. No. And you feel stinky about that one. By the way, I think Wisconsin fans, if they were true to themselves in their heart of hearts, if they'd have just done some research, they'd have found out Tyler Van Dyke was playing some of his worst football of his really, really long career. Because it ain't like this dude's coming in with like 7 starts. This dude's coming into his career at Wisconsin with a good, multiple double-digit starts season. So a long way of swinging and missing. And by the way, the Aiden Childs guy, who doesn't have a transition in terms of new offense. He was at Oregon State with my man who's got John Smith. I was going to make fun of a very generic baseline name, but it is indeed John Smith. My man John Smith came from Oregon State, brought Aiden Childs with him. Looked like he swung and missed. Don't even know how that happened. So there's a lot of swinging and missing going on as of late.
Yeah, I think that's just the risk you assume in the transfer. But to be fair, it's also kind of the risk you assume in recruiting. The difference is you have 4 years to keep trying to rectify that swing and miss. And it's also kind of this idea that, well, when you swing and miss on a recruit, you have a year or two to develop them, and then it's kind of, okay, they're a failed cause. Whereas if you swing and miss in the transfer portal, they're supposed to be somewhat of a fully developed talent when you get there. So for them to not be good when they arrive is a major miss. So it is concerning for a lot of these teams. I think there have also been a lot of hits, though. So, I mean...
Who's automatic hit? Who you feel good about already?
I mean, Cam Ward's...
Other than Cam Ward. I feel good about Cam Ward. We'll stamp him.
I mean, let's be honest. The game was not great, but Dylan Gabriel really looked good with Oregon.
Okay, so you're stamping Gabriel. I'd stamp Gabriel, too, because of what he did at Oklahoma. I felt good about that.
Yeah.
And feel good about the general coordinating at Oregon. Who else we stamping as they feel good, they hit on this as a transfer quarterback?
I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I don't think he's going to be in Heisman contention. I don't think he's even going to carry this team to a national title, maybe a playoff spot. But Riley Leonard looked good on Saturday. The offense didn't look great.
Like Riley Leonard looked like Riley Leonard.
But but I mean that's a step from that's a step up from what you had last year.
Riley Leonard wins the award for everyone thinking he did great, but you look at the box score and you're like, damn, he wasn't out here like Diddy.
I didn't think he looked good on Saturday.
Yeah, well, not a lot of separation being created against Texas A&M. Playing a lot of man coverage, bump and run in the face.
I mean, Kyle McCord's one of these.
Looked athletic and looked tough. You think Kyle McCord's a stamp? You feel good about it?
Yeah.
Like, you think he's going to do well against Tech this week?
I think it's a stamp for Syracuse.
Okay.
For Syracuse standards,
you got to look at a relative spot. Like, is Kyle McCord a Heisman contender? Is Kyle McCord going to throw for 4,000 yards this season?
I'm TBDing it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm fair. I'm good with it.
Just like I'm TBDing Brock Vandagriff.
I'm TBDing KJ Jefferson because
that was
bad.
That was really bad. That was really bad.
It was gross.
I forgot about him. That's how bad that was. He looked big. You gotta be careful. You gotta be real careful about these 240 guys. They start playing at 260 real slick, and you don't know because they got all that big padding around them. You gotta be careful, man. You big and physical, but we still need you to be able to pull away from people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We can't have you being late career Ben Roethlisberger. Maybe having that.
Those are some tough years of football to watch.
That's what it looked like. It looked that one play the ball slipped out of his hands. That happened to Ben late in his career. Now I know it was cold in an NFL ball, but still, like, didn't look good. You're right. Yeah. Let's wait on that one. Still got question marks about Will Howard. Are we stamping that one?
Yeah. If anything, you're TBDing it. Yeah. I think you can't make a fair assessment on a player like that in one of those types of football games. Just kind of waiting and seeing there. But honestly, you may not ever get your decision made on him if they continue to run the football like they plan or what people think they might be able to do. You might just kind of be like, he's good. I don't know if it's like a stamp approved or unless it just, it might just end up being like, it worked out for them.
How did Malik Murphy look at Duke?
He looked okay.
Yeah, you're my Duke fan. I
picked him 1 year.
I didn't take a peek, man. That's all
I'm not a residential Duke fan. I just picked them last year as a sleeper team.
You sure?
Yes, I am sure. I remember looking at it and it was like, okay. Kind of like he was 26 of 40, 291, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Chunking. Who they play?
Elon.
Oh, man. I bet them wide receivers at Duke just walk around like they big man on campus after years of the Mike Elko offense with Riley Leonard.
Yeah, they had 2 players.
They chunked it 40 times.
They had 2 players with 7 receptions.
Wow.
I might be taking a peek.
It's a new era.
I'll be taking a peek at some Dookie Blue Devil football. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's good stuff right there. Anybody else? Any other transfers we need to be checking in on?
16 tackles for loss.
Jesus.
It's a lot of money in that transfer portal for some question marks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of money. Lane Kiffin, being Lane Kiffin. What do you got for us, Kirk?
So obviously we all saw, what was it, Sunday night, the infamous Brian Kelly slamming his fist on the desk, kind of the fake rage thing. So I don't know if the chat remembers this, but beforehand there was kind of this back and forth between Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin. Brian Kelly made a joke about vitamin water and how good it was after Lane Kiffin said something. Was it about Diet Coke, I believe?
It was Coke. Look how much sugar's in Coke. Who drinks this stuff?
Talking about how unhealthy Coke is.
A premier sponsor of the conference, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, it's Lane Kiffin, bro. Who cares?
Oh no, it was Kelly that shit on the sponsor. And then Lane was like, hey, the great thing about Coke, they got all kinds of products like Smart Water.
I thought it was the other way
You're
around.
flip-flopping.
I'm flip-flopping?
I thought Lane Kiffin was like, look how unhealthy Coke is.
Lane
Brian-
was the one that was all, get off my lash. I'm sorry,
And then-
continue.
Yeah.
So
I'm over here looking for rogues and can't find them. I'm on side missions.
He's not.
I'm on side quests over here.
So after Brian Kelly responded with the whole vitamin water thing, Lane Kiffin finally got even after the Sunday loss. So someone tweeted a picture of Brian Kelly with his fist slammed on the desk, mad, and someone said this is the only way you should look at a Dasani water bottle because obviously the Dasani picture's in there. Lane Kiffin then decides to tweet at Brian Kelly. Let me make sure I get it all right. Maybe you just need a Coke Zero and a smile, coach. # love Coke. So we've got a nice back and forth going between Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin this season. So
Do they play one another this year?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Not on the schedule.
Boo.
It's always a fun one, though.
Yeah,
It's always a fun game.
Always a fun one.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if it'd be as fun this year with LSU apparently having a defense. I think that might be.
It'd be interesting.
Both of them may be having a defense.
Both of them maybe having a defense. Are we really giving Ole Miss credit for that?
I said maybe.
Maybe.
I said
Perhaps.
maybe
I
having
don't know.
a
You
defense.
must have been getting them the hell off the field quickly if you had 49 points in the first half and on 450 passing.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
must have been going tree and out. Come to the tree out, you big dumb bitch. My question about Lane, and it's a genuine question, because I know he likes to have fun, and he is fun. All right, he likes to make jokes, likes to crack jokes, likes to smile. But can you win consistently and have fun?
I think the
Find me the consistent winner that's out here smiling and having a good time.
I think you have two of them in the NFL right now that are kind of doing it.
Who?
Mike McDaniel is kind of
won a
doing
title.
it. No, well, if that's the standard, I don't know.
That's what I'm talking about. These are
You said win
bro.
consistently.
Some of these coaches that are out here having fun, like Lane Kiffin, he has title expectations. They expect him to win a title,
well, I mean, a lot of these coaches say the fun comes within winning.
and if he wins that title, he will have that expectation remaining. Okay?
Yeah.
So my thing is, when you have these title expectations and you're out here fun, who's out here winning and having multiple chips, all right, and being a consistent winner, properly rated as a consistent winner, that's out here with a smile on his face having fun? Because I ain't found him.
Well, I mean,
Not in this game.
to be fair, the mantra of consistent winners when it comes to championships, there's like three names beneath it. It's Kirby Smart, Nick Saban,
Dabo Swinney,
and Bill Belichick. And like three of those four.
Bobby Bowden. Did he have fun? I don't remember Bowden.
I think this is fun.
But he didn't win a ton of chips, to be honest with you. If you really go back and
I mean,
look
Dabo's won too. Like, what do we define by a ton of success? Like, I would say Dabo Swinney's had a ton of success at Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. I would say Dabo Swinney's a pretty fun personality. They put a slide in their team room. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
So, I don't know. It's a tough question because you have to define what fun is then. Like for Kirby Smart, I would imagine that he genuinely enjoys getting up early, grinding a day out, going home, thinking about 25 different things before he goes to bed and waking up and doing that all again. That's what he enjoys. That's fun. Mm-hmm. The Lane Kiffin fun you're talking about, where it's kind of, you're goofy, you're going viral on things. I haven't seen an instance where that works out. The only example I can even think of where there was just a guy who was laid back, having a great time throughout the season was Coach O. And that very quickly went to shit, we all saw.
Jimmy Johnson was a laid-back, have-fun type of football coach.
Yeah.
He was always in those players' ass, from what it sounds like on those Miami documentaries. Do you have any thoughts on fun coaches?
I think I would just stick with my thought process of, like, if Dan Campbell wins a title with the Detroit Lions, he might be an example of this.
Sean McVay is also an example of this, I think.
Yeah.
Sean McVay, you could like Sean McVay and George.
Chat's giving a good shout to Spurrier. I feel like Spurrier was like this.
Yeah.
Spurrier was very fun, stress-free, happy-go-lucky.
Yes.
Now, when he got hot. Really, really quick to trigger a pissed-off Spurrier, but normally he was having a good time.
Pete Carroll was a good example of this too, I think.
Very, very much so players coach.
I think that Kirby can be fun, but he's just like, right moments. Pick your moments.
It's hard-ass. It's hard-ass more than not. You know, it's demonstrative tone quite often.
And let's be fair, Lane Kiffin does have some hard ass, and like with the video clip that went viral last year of him announcing the player's not on the team anymore, like you see that hard ass. Now I don't think Lane Kiffin is publicly as hard ass maybe as much as Kirby Smart, and I guess that's just the way they kind of go about their two ways. I'm sure if you put Kirby Smart in a room with Lane Kiffin and they just had a conversation, you were fly on the wall for that, it would be a very fun, enjoyable conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Kirby Smart's personality when it's not on a microphone.
Yeah. So
on a camera, except that one time he showed it on my camera. That was cool. Shout out Ben Jones.
By the way, LSU, Ole Miss do play.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. I missed that on the schedule.
What week do they play?
I don't know. Chat was saying that they do play.
That's in Baton, right?
I thought last year.
They played last year.
Last year was in Oxford, so yeah.
What's coming up? It's week 2, week 3, week 4, week 6.
Ooh. New AP poll dropped today. Don't feel like giving the rundown. Did you have any thoughts? I have a couple of notes here.
I really just wanted to do this segment so I could point out that Florida State is the first team since Clemson 2008 to be the first team to be ranked in the top 10 in the preseason AP poll and then be outside of the top 25 completely by the time the next AP poll rankings come out.
Yuck.
Who was the other example?
Clemson 2008. And to be honest,
how bad did they get beat?
They lost to Alabama on a neutral site field. So I don't know.
They dropped from 10 to unranked?
Yeah.
That's
actually,
crazy.
I think they were 9th. Or they were tied for 9th,
That's
actually.
mad disrespectful.
Yeah. It was very weird. I didn't understand it.
That was the Bowden days, wasn't it?
For what?
08 in Clemson would have been the Bowden days.
I think so. Let me look that up.
Wasn't there a Bowden that coached before Dabo out there? Who was the head coach at Clemson?
Tommy Bowden.
Tommy Bowden.
Okay,
See, you make
that was the year that
it question my football.
No, I knew you were right.
With that weird ass.
That
face.
was the year where it went from Tommy Bowden to Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Transition year.
Yeah.
we've been talking about
Transition.
Bobby Bowden for so long. I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, they lost 34 to 10 to Alabama.
That's kind of being handled.
Going from 9 to unranked, though, is crazy for that.
Yeah.
Like, they got drubbed up this week, and they didn't
way
even get kicked
worse.
out of the top.
Way
well,
worse.
they dropped to the
14 spots.
Yeah, they dropped 25th. So I mean,
Yeah. I got a couple notes here. Well, I thought Oregon rightfully dropped behind a couple teams. I think they dropped 4 spots this week. I thought Michigan should have dropped even more. Once we see you come out and you look absolutely anemic offensively, that's a big problem. Couldn't even really run the ball successfully in that football game, it felt like. NC State can just get the hell out of here. I'm just out, just gone. Get bye-bye. Miami sure as shit looked like a top 10 football team to me.
Yeah.
If I had an AP top 25 vote, so I don't know what happened there. They came in at 12. No other thoughts really on this list for me.
no ACC or Big 12 teams in the top 10.
Yes.
Checks out. Utah closest.
Yes.
Utah
being ahead of Miami a little bit confusing to me as well.
I do want to say that.
Well,
They would be favored by 5 points on a neutral.
yeah, but Miami jumped 7 spots. Let's be fair. They beat the shit out of a bad football
You're right, but we saw it.
I do want to say that especially after what Florida State did yesterday, I think this might be a little premature for Georgia Tech to vault them into the top 25 at this point. I think that they could be a long play into the rankings.
Oh, I didn't see this coming. You're swerving the Tech love. If Tech's ever getting in the top 25, it's this week. Moving forward, their schedule's brutal.
Yeah.
Just saying. Maybe it's a courtesy, like, hey,
They
good
build
job.
you up to break you down.
Yeah, man.
That's how it is.
Someone's going to get to claim a top
The deep
25
state.
win.
They don't want to see you win.
No,
You know what I
they
mean?
don't. They don't want to see you
They
ball.
always trying to keep you down. Watch out for they. Any other thoughts on the people? I thought Boston College should have been on here. Boston College, NC State, Neutrophil. Who you got?
Boston College.
I got Boston College dubbing that ass.
Yeah.
KJ Costa.
Better quarterback, better offensive line, better running back.
But I mean, the problem is now Boston College best win is against an unranked opponent, and I get NC State hasn't done anything.
Well, they're unranked because of them.
That's what I'm saying, but they haven't. I get NC State hasn't done anything of note, but they started.
This is why I don't like the end of season scheduled talk where they're like, so and so's only played one ranked opponent, when in reality they might have played 5 because they were ranked at the time they played them. I think what the team was when you played them matters to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Florida State was a 16.5 point favorite in that football game, and because you know the outcome now, you're like, well, they beat a bad Florida State team. Well, no, they beat the 10th ranked team in the country on the road. That's what Boston College did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
They didn't beat a bad Florida State team. They beat the 10th ranked team in the country on the road. That's the way I've always looked at this. It's what it looked like going into that. What did you think of the football game going in? Florida State bounce back game. That's what majority of people thought. Boston College got a dub over the 10th ranked team on the road. That's what they did.
I think you can look at it through both ways, though. Of like, I think there's also different circumstances where maybe a team just kind of collapses in the second half of the year. Like who they were when you played them in week 4, when they were a top 25 football team, was very different than what they were by the end of the year. Because maybe they lost some key players.
Correct.
Maybe something happens. Like, I think context is also important in those situations, because sometimes it is just like, oh, it's a little premature. Probably shouldn't have been ranked, but you get a ranked team anyways. At the end of the season, though, 5-7. Like, sometimes that happens. And in that case, I don't think you can truly say, like, oh, we beat a ranked football team.
Yeah, and I mean, like, let's be honest. The 120 minutes Florida State's put on the field is not top 25-esque.
It is not. That's fair. Who's been the biggest flop so far?
I mean, it's
Florida State.
It's Florida State.
It is. Who else is out here flopping on their face? I got a couple suggestions.
Let's hear him. I'm interested.
Oh, man. Vatek had real hype.
Yeah.
Vatek had real hype. 20 of 22 returning starters.
Wasn't a top 25 team, though, I don't think.
No, but they had real expectations, I think.
Yeah, they did.
Around that program and around that roster coming back, especially around that quarterback. And to get beat by Vandy.
Yeah.
To get beat by Vandy, of all people, that's a flop on your face.
Yeah, I agree with that
Yeah,
one.
that's a big one.
There was somebody who was out here talking mad shit and then threw 2 just dead-ass ugly interceptions on his first 4 throws. Did y'all see this?
Who's this?
TJ Finley was out here talking about y'all ain't even, the world ain't prepared for the Western Kentucky they finna see.
Oof.
Y'all ain't see these quotes?
No.
TJ Finley, the week leading up to playing Alabama, was out here talking about we got a new Western Kentucky for the world to see. And was out here throwing straight to Keon Saab's face. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a flop. Connor Weigman, massive flop.
Didn't look good.
I feel like a lot of people thought he was going to be pretty good.
Weigman
Also,
or
coach
Wickman?
switching like a Mo.
Ooh,
Y'all
yeah,
seen these videos. Those are tough.
I heard
Aiden
people say
Chop-
Connor Wigman, by the way.
Weigman, it ain't going to matter in the long run. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Connor.
That boy Weigman.
Aiden Childs telling people to bet the over and then going out and scoring 19 points, I think, is not a great look. So
Yeah, it's
Things
not
you
great either.
shouldn't do.
That's a big old
Shouldn't do
Rocky
it.
flop.
yeah, don't give betting advice as a player.
Speaking of which, if you're a Tennessee fan watching this, we're going to talk about your football team. I guarantee you in the next hour when we talk about biggest teams, biggest fears.
Yeah.
With regards to Georgia's schedule. So be paying attention to that one. Any massive flops?
There really haven't been this. I mean, Clemson.
Granted, that has been 1 week.
Clemson coming out and losing that game by 31 points and not looking like they have a single pulse on offense. I get it. It was against Georgia's defense. Georgia has one of the best defenses in the nation. It looked very unorganized, and they did not look ready to play that game. So that's a flop by my book. I know everyone expected them to lose that game. I don't think people expected it to look that bad.
Not
That's a flop.
offensively.
No.
Definitely not like that offensively.
Are we good on the national hour?
Yes.
I think we are. Hey, we got a whole other hour coming up right now. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into the Film Guy Network on another loaded hour. It is our local hour. Shout out to our friends over at BetUS. We are obviously powered by those guys, doing a great job supporting us this season. We had a Kirby Smart press conference today, boys. Came in hot off the presser, if you will. Got into the studio about 5 minutes before live went out. Had just enough time to highlight my notes, so that was good stuff. But I do have some notes on today's press conference. A tad bit chippy, pun intended. Not bad, right?
Not bad.
That's a good one.
Not bad. Fresh off the dome right there. That's not bad. Didn't even write that one down. I had two questions that I wanted to ask him today. First and foremost, 13 freshmen made their debut against Clemson. What does that say about the program? And ultimately, does that get used against you on the recruiting trail? Certainly does. Certainly gets shut down really, really quickly. I guess they have the data points in terms of freshman All-American, amount of playing time for freshmen. I would imagine they have that. He alluded to having those data points for people. Also went on to say that they have to play nowadays out of necessity. The homie Dasher followed up after my question with Coach, our freshmen playing because they're better, and he immediately was like, no, they're playing out of necessity. We have to play these players because of roster deterioration. You got to look on your face.
Is it always that way though?
What do you mean always?
Like, is it always out of necessity? Like, was it that you need Malachi Starks made it on the field because we didn't have another choice, or was it that hey,
nah, that dude was good.
That's there's a couple of instances KJ Bolden, Brock Bowers.
I would say Nate Frazier was need Saturday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
CJ Allen.
I would say Joseph Jonah and Jonah was need Saturday. I don't know. Dean's pretty thick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe that was necessity. Did I use that correctly? Need necessity. Maybe that was out of earned greatness.
I feel like that's, but I agree with you in the sense of I don't think that's always the case.
Okay.
Nate Frazier would have played. I feel like even if the whole running back room was available,
correct,
I think they would have gotten that guy some touches.
Right. I don't think he would have ended up being the feature back.
He ended up being a necessity. You had to have him on Saturday because you were down two guys, but he would have gotten on the field.
He also went on to say that if you're playing a lot of freshmen in this conference, you're in trouble.
I would agree with that.
That means South Carolina's probably in trouble.
Most likely.
Even though, oh my God, did you see that tape on Dylan Stewart that I tweeted?
Yeah,
dude, absurd.
The bend.
Shit.
The bend.
That's frightening.
Yeah, it is.
That dude's, you know how big he is? He looks real thin in that video, doesn't he?
He's 6'4", isn't he?
Bro, he's 235 pounds. He's 6'5".
Good God.
Yeah, he's going to be insane. Let's go on. He apparently only watches the tape once. Says he watches it Saturday night, never again. Done. Immediately after the game, watches it once, on to the next one. All right, I'm curious.
Well,
I'm dubious of this. You think he watches it once?
Well, one, he probably watches the same play 10 times.
Correct.
Two, he automatically watches it twice when he goes over it with the team on Sunday.
Fair. They're definitely not doing that as a team as a whole.
Yeah,
they're split up into units.
Sure. Right.
So there's that. And he's an overseer, so he's going to pop into each and every individual room.
Right, but there's definitely certain parts that he wants to emphasize he'll be there for. So I don't think maybe he doesn't watch the film play 1 to play 158 multiple times, but he's definitely religiously watching that throughout the weekend.
I just thought it was interesting. I only watched it once. He kind of saw what I saw, and we're going to give you from the notes on the film. He thought Raylan played really, really well. I thought he saw it really well on Saturday. That was one of my notes on the film. Is I think it's obvious when you look at even from the spring, which did Raylan play in the spring game?
I don't remember
him.
Either way, watching last year's tape, particularly against Florida State and especially against Bama, he's playing much faster, much more physical, much more confident. And so, like Kirby said today, he saw it. He was seeing the game really, really well, reading his keys properly. Talked about how linebacker, the position in whole, has changed on the recruiting trail, right? I talked about how used to there was a premium on, physicality, toughness, size, the ability to read things, right? And then maybe some speed, coverage ability. Now you've kind of flipped that onto its inverse because of the way offensive play is nowadays in college football, right? Nowadays he rattled these off in order. Nowadays it's speed, IQ, space, how you play in space, and then he went on to size and toughness and length and things like that. He said they have changed the priority in terms of the traits that they're looking for at that position, and that certainly makes sense. I love the quote, conflict on every play. Talked about the linebacker position being put into conflict on every single play nowadays in college football. Was asked about Dan Jackson, said Dan Jackson is a product of toughness. Also mentioned, I love that he talked about how we got lucky with Dan, that he came to us. We didn't seek Dan Jackson. We weren't out here seeking after Dan. Dan showed up on our doorsteps wanting to walk on, ultimately earned the right to play on this football team through a consistent effort, insistent production of toughness. Loved the update on Jordan Hall. Apparently Jordan Hall is really flying around and really attacking his rehab process. Said that Jordan Hall was in the training room Saturday before they left at Clemson at 5:30 in the morning getting rehab done on that knee, or that hairline fracture he's got that in that fibula, I believe it is. Mentioned Xavier McLeod being what?
How do you rehab a fracture in a bone?
Ice and stem, baby. It's nothing but ice and stem. Okay. Everything's ice and stem. I've had thousands. I've seen thousands of injuries, thousands of ATs go ice and stem. Give you a little stem, give you a little ice, rub it down, get you out. I don't know. I don't know how you rehab a hairline fracture. Okay, there's probably something there. Where were we at? McLeod said McLeod's a little bit further away from playing. Said it's
who?
McLeod. God dang it! I did it again, didn't I? I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You've been good about it.
God, falling off the wagon.
Said it's a soft tissue injury. I think it's an abdominal thing, to be honest with you boys. Let's see here. He was asked about Tennessee Tech having an injury at the quarterback position. I guess somebody interviewed the head coach at Tennessee Tech on the beat and asked him about being banged up and coming out and playing the number one team in the country, and it sounded like he was almost victimizing having to come do this. And Kirby cut the question off and was like, "Does he still want the check?" And I'm like, "Oh, does he still want the check?"
That's fair.
You know why you're here.
No shit, like, bro, you know why you're here. Like Kirby, and the question was kind of basically like, Kirby, you've talked about years past. You think this is kind of the financial lifeblood of these football programs. That without this, man, they're not gonna be able to pay their bills essentially moving forward. And then that's why he was like, do they want the check still? Like, they could come get this ass beaten, but do they want the check?
Yeah.
Because you can sit there and complain about it all you want, but you're getting paid to do something.
Do it.
There's a reason why we're here. Exactly. You said it right. You know why we're here. You're here to take this 56 points and get the hell on. We'll give you 900 G's for it and maybe a quarter of the gate. I don't know why I'm pointing at you.
I didn't either.
I don't know why I'm pointing at you. I asked him, I dared to ask him, and I haven't been nervous to ask him a question in a while, but I figured, if anything, if you're going to swat me down and tell me to piss off or anything, it's asking what I asked him today, which was, have you dared to just go ahead and look at Kentucky, maybe just a little bit? Swatted it down immediately, and then told me he has taken a look, as he always has. He mentioned this before. Every single week in the conference, he watches the explosive cut-ups, and he watches the third and short, fourth and short cut-ups to see what the league is doing. I mentioned that it was an extremely explosive week on the cut-ups.
Would you mind asking him a question next time you see him?
About the limp?
No, well, yes, actually. How is that going?
I think the limp's cleared up, honestly. I haven't noticed it in the last couple of Tuesday meetings.
Attaboy.
That's just
tax and rehab.
Yeah. Huh?
No, my question was going to be, how many hours does he watch film from post-game Saturday to Monday?
There's no ticker on it. I bet
he could give you a ballpark,
he's segmented, though. Right? He only does certain things for certain blocks.
For sure.
I guarantee it.
He could definitely give you a ballpark. Just like, hey, coach, just out of curiosity.
How much film are you watching every week?
Yeah. Do you think he'll be offended by that question?
No, I don't think he would. I think it'd be maybe like, you think he's putting in 35 hours on the huddle? They're on Exos, but you think he's putting in 35 hours?
I don't know if he's got 35 hours to put in.
I don't think he does either.
If he did, he would do it.
Yeah. He's probably got a lot of analyst staff to do a lot of that for him. And nowadays, like used to, when coaches were really watching film, doing it on their own, they used to have to chart it all by themselves. And there's a lot of time getting put into the data of the film work. Nowadays, all that stuff's automated for them. So that really cuts down a lot of the time. Yeah. That's why Pro Football Focus is who they are. Because that's a whole macro discussion.
I'm just curious about that.
Jonel Aguero practiced, so that's good. Sounds like he's pretty good to go, or at least on the verge of getting back to going. Warren Brinson was out there running around today. It sounds like Michael Williams was not. Michael Williams was watching practice, not dressed out. I think it's going to be a couple weeks right there with that grade 2 sprain. Was asked about whether or not Trevor Etienne was going to be playing this weekend. He said, we don't talk about it. Then there was some other stuff that went on. That's that. Welcome to the Local Hour. Players you want to see more of in week 2. Defensive film notes coming to you guys. We had a great film study on that defensive performance from Saturday. Just how good can this defense be? We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Play a little game of Could You Imagine? There's some Florida State recruiting that we need to be paying attention to as a Georgia show, if you will, here in the Local Hour. You need to be made well aware of. Who scares you? Looking around, you've seen 1 week of SEC football opponents. Who scares you? We're going to talk a little bit about that. And I took a peek at Alabama today.
Ooh.
And I got some notes for you. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at BetUS. Are you looking for a new book this season? BetUS is the answer. The fastest payouts in the industry. 125% sign up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 bets. Fast and easy deposit withdrawal process. Check out my BetUS link today. I think I'm going to hammer that Nebraska 7.5. To be honest with you. I think I'm going to go make that play right now on BetUS. But first, make sure you're showing some love, checking out that description or that link in the description of this video today. I want to do a little something. I was running some numbers today, boys.
Oh, yeah?
Running some numbers. Since Sunday, okay? It's Tuesday. Since Sunday, our channel has received 65,000 views.
Nice.
And 400 new subscribers.
Sick.
Now, we have done 5 hours of content, now 6 since Sunday, so we've probably done more work than most people. But you guys are showing up and showing out, so I want to take a second to go ahead and give them 3. Good work for you guys. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. And we are on the verge of 25,000 subscribers. I think we've earned it, boys. I think we have absolutely earned the right to call ourselves a 25K club and just go ahead and move on past that hurdle on to 30. You know what? And then after that on to 50. And then after that on to 100. All right, we got new goals, and they're bigger and badder and better every single time. So let's do it. Let's make sure we're hitting that subscribe button, all that good stuff. I've got defensive film notes. You want them?
Oh, yeah. Some defensive film notes.
We got a new segment coming up after this.
We do.
That's highly anticipated, to say the least.
I believe so.
I laughed my ass off. Hardest I've laughed at anything we've produced in a minute.
Good.
I don't want to oversell and under-deliver, but I think it's going to be good. All right, I got notes. In fact, I got a lot of notes. I took 40 plays Saturday and broke them down. 40 of the 56 defensive snaps from Saturday. I wouldn't even call these critiques. I would consider these suggestions. I would say I have suggestions on 7 of those 40 snaps that I broke down, which means 33 of the 40 plays that we watched on Saturday were pretty much me looking at them and writing down, hey, make sure the audience sees this. I had a commenter on our channel say, Brooks, great breakdown, tremendous, loved it. Wish you would point out some of the negatives on the defense so they can get better. And I had to explain to that commenter that I watched the plays in congruency. We watched them in linear fashion. I didn't have negative plays to bring to you because there weren't none. In fact, there were 7, like I said, of the 40 plays we broke down to me going, hey, this could get better. This could improve. Now, I am me. I am dumb on the board. I'm sure Georgia had much more critical things to look at, right? I'm sure Kirby Smart had a lot to tear down to play to the standard. But my standard is good, high-quality football. And by God, on a lot more of those plays than usual, they met the standard. But that wasn't my primary number one takeaway. My number one takeaway, by far, hands down, the speed. The speed of this football team defensively really, really jumps out on tape. They've always felt really, really big. They always play. They feel, not even play. You can feel the physicality on tape. All right. They always have felt really, really fast on tape, but this is speed upon something I haven't seen. It's by far my largest takeaway. And I know Clemson is slow. I do. I absolutely know Clemson is slow. But when you just boil it down this way, right? Jalen Walker's arguably the twitchiest human being on the field at all times. We'll agree with that. Mm-hmm. He's the slowest linebacker of the 3 that play. The other 2 guys are sub-11 second 100-meter runners at 230 pounds. The rest of the defensive backfield, they're all sub-11 second 100-meter runners. Julian Humphreys is a 10.6 guy. All right. Dalen Everett's a 10.7 guy. The safeties, Dan Jackson's a 4.4 guy. All right. KJ Bolden's a 4.4 guy. Malachi Starks in high school, I believe, was like a 22-foot long jumper. They have spent years and years and years of prioritizing speed metrics on the recruiting trail. And by God, you're seeing it on display every time I turn the tape on. It is incredibly, incredibly fast. And this isn't just something that I have felt. I make sure when I feel this way about something, as in like, hey, this is the fastest I've ever seen a Georgia defense play since I've been doing this. When I feel that strongly, I text and I make sure I'm not losing my mind, right? This isn't recency bias. This isn't just me not having seen Georgia tape in 8 months, right? This is for real. Yes, this is for real. This is as fast as Georgia has ever pursued the football, as fast as Georgia has ever played on the defensive side of the football. That was my primary takeaway. And it was my other takeaway. They aren't even really healthy yet. Like, particularly from a defensive line standpoint, you can't tell me that this defensive line is not going to look bigger, badder, and better. All right, when they get guys like Warren Brinson 100% healthy, when they get Xavier McLeod back on the football field, when Jordan Hall is out in the mix and playing on this football team. So those things are things to look forward to, right? Jalen looks like a combination of Nolan Smith at outside linebacker and Channing Tindall at inside linebacker. Like that was another takeaway I had. Like, if they're going to play this guy at both positions, he's really good at both of them. He's not the best at both of them, but he's really, really good and impactful at both of them. I thought, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Raylan Wilson has taken a drastic step forward, in my opinion. It is noticeable and palpable on tape that individual has gotten much better and feels much more comfortable about what he's looking at. About some what's happening to me?
Oh, no.
Also, by the way, Smile Mondon, healthy. Smile Mondon did stuff on tape Saturday that I haven't seen in a couple of years. Healthy. What else? They seem to favor Julian Humphrey over Daniel Harris. I don't know if you guys noticed this. It looked to me like Daniel Harris didn't get in as early as some of the other guys that rotated in with the rotations. So it looks to me like Humphrey might have won that job.
Is that he's won the job, or is that a situational thing where we like Daniel Lewis or
Daniel Harris more? Julian Humphrey in that matchup? We'll see. I think we'll learn more a lot this week. How early does that rotation happen this week? Mm-hmm. And does maybe Daniel Harris get the nod this week?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, because it could very much have been like they do in practice, where hey, today's your day, today's his day.
I'm not putting a bow on it yet, but we got an indicator Saturday of who they favor.
I was going to say, going back to the speed conversation, I think too of like why maybe it feels so drastic is when you think about some of the players that you lost, like Javon Bullard, Tyke Smith, Kamari Lassiter, JDJ, all great football players. Not the fastest. They were all great instinctually. Yep. They had great heads.
There's way more speed on the field.
Yes.
You're right.
The people that have now come in and stepped in and whatnot, and the people that have kind of moved up the depth chart, so much more speed on the football field. I think that's maybe why I was like, whoa, this feels quick. This feels fast.
So you've been breaking down these teams for 5 years now. Mm-hmm. It's fair to say that this is the most athletic defense you've seen.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that this defense is more athletic in 2021, but 2021 had more instinctual football players on it thus far?
Where do I have this?
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No. I was going to talk about this and just and your transition is into it, so I'll go ahead and talk about it. This leads me into the just how good they can be discussion.
Okay.
And honestly, when I watched them yesterday in totality and rewatched it again today, this is where I came to the conclusion of they feel like a mix to me between 2019 and 2021. 2019, going into that LSU matchup, they were allowing 10.6 points per game, the fewest Georgia defenses had allowed since the 80s. Like, they were doing historical shit in 2019, and people forget because they got blistered by LSU.
Yeah.
All right, but they were doing great stuff, and they were calling it the no-name defense. Remember that year? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, hey, we just got a bunch of really good football players that do the right thing. They're always assigned. They're always disciplined. They're always in the right spot. It feels like that to me with a combination, and maybe not as much of a talent pool as 2021, but on the verge of that. Like, we look at that 2021 roster, and there's like 9 pros on it that we feel like are going to be really, really good, long-standing pros. Mm-hmm. There's probably 14 that ended up in the league, that ended up getting drafted, but some of them are cases like Lewis Seen.
Yeah.
But we look at this roster, and I mean, if you rat-a-tat-tatted it off, how many guys are going to play in the league? All three of those linebackers we talked about are going to play in the league. Michael Williams, Malachi Starks.
Off rip, I could probably say there's going to be 12 players drafted.
That's what I'm saying. It's just, it feels that way. Now, is there a 1-1 on this defense like there was in Trayvon Walker? I don't know. Are there three linebackers that are going to go, or two linebackers, one linebacker is going to go in the first round and four defensive linemen? I don't know. But by God, there's a whole hell of a lot of NFL football players, and they play really, really fast, and they play assignment defense. I think this could be as great defensively as any defense Kirby Smart has had. The problem is they have the way more difficult schedule than anybody else. Way more difficult than any of these other defenses that we've talked about. I want to continue on these notes. I thought that was a great point. It was also a really great film study. I thought 52 had a big football game. I thought it was really promising for Christian Miller, what he put on tape. Super athletic. His body looks lean, man. Body looks really lean. He looks athletic. But I will be honest, it's just my final point, my final takeaway after 2 days of doing film, defensively, with regard when it comes to this football team, I don't see a weak link on tape. For years, I've always been able to identify something. I've always been able to identify, hey, I think you can get Georgia doing this. After that, I don't know what you do. I don't. 2 days of tape, I don't know what I would do to that defense. I don't know where the weaknesses are. I don't know where the holes are. Can't find a hole.
Is it, out of all the offensive lines that Georgia's going to play in this 12-game stretch, where would you rank Clemson on this? It's just off the top of your head. Does Clemson have a better offensive line than Alabama? Does it better than Auburn? Better than Texas?
Better than Auburn. Not better than Texas. Not better than if they play LSU. Maybe better than Ole Miss.
Okay.
Very similar game plan as Ole Miss, though. A lot of misdirection.
So is it like fair to say that the big
top five on the regular season schedule?
But what I'm getting at is the best way to maybe attack this team is up the middle, maybe. I mean, after the
guard
game,
to guard,
yeah,
but you still got to run through really good linebackers.
Exactly, and I mean, coming into the season, that was kind of the question. It wasn't a exclamation mark or red flag or anything, but it was kind of like, what's this going to be like? Because we don't have a Jordan Davis, we don't have a Jalen Carter, and I think there's still questions around it.
Not too much sus going on around this defense.
No, there's
not a lot of sus.
There is a lot of sus somewhere else, though.
Is there?
Yeah. You want to debut?
I do want to debut.
Kirby?
So I obviously was not in studio.
I mean, god dang, dude! I tried to drag you.
I saw the smile. I saw the
God,
smile, and I was kind of like waiting for it. So I obviously was not in studio for our film studies because I'm at class and things like that.
Nerd.
Dude, come on.
Loser.
Trying to get an education, man.
Guy cares about a journalism degree to talk on a camera.
Hey, I already got the journalism degree. I'm getting a master's.
Oh. But what were you doing?
Anyways, so I always watch the film studies after the fact, after they've been filmed, and I've noticed that there are just a lot of out-of-pocket, out-of-context things that you say that, in a vacuum, sound very, very interesting. So I decided that the next segment that we're going to introduce to the show is that every time Brooks releases a film study, we're going to have a Diddy counter for it.
A Diddy counter. Every
time you say something that's a little questionable, a little sus, we're going to count that and make a big compilation of that at the end. So, Jay Will,
to be fair, football talk, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
football talk is football
about dudes
talk.
for a living. You're saying I say some Diddyisms, some sus stuff while I'm talking about dudes?
Brother, there are some major Diddyisms
How bad
in this
is
week's episode. Jay, well, why don't you roll the tape for us?
Shut up and grind. 50 busted. Right guard's definitely the one who busted, by the way, because either that or two guys busted and one didn't. We got a veteran wide receiver busting. I don't know. I feel something stirring in the innards. And look at that hold. He gets pulled all the way back. And I don't even care about my body. Fuck my body. I'm gonna throw it. I'm gonna throw it at some people. We talk about multiple D's in a hole. Is that a 10 count?
10 count.
Double digits.
At a 10 count.
That's your first. Hey, so week 1, 10 is the record. So we'll see.
10's not bad. Now, that was both hours?
That was 1 hour. That was just defense.
That's just defense.
See, oh my God. See, there was one I got sent real bad in the Brooks Out of Context channel about Tate Ratledge. About, maybe getting rolled. I love this. This is man shit. I love man shit from 69. Yeah, buddy.
I'm sorry I missed that
bad.
one.
That might be
It
as
was
heavy-handed
bad.
as it gets.
And I didn't even realize what I said until somebody commented it on a YouTube play. That Diddyism counter was so good. Run that thing one more time. Shut up and grind. 50 busted. Right guard's definitely the one who busted, by the way, because either that or two guys busted and one didn't. We got a veteran wide receiver busting. I don't know. I feel something stirring in the innards. And look at that hold. He gets pulled all the way back. And I don't even care about my body. Fuck my body. I'm gonna throw it. I'm gonna throw it at some people. We talk about multiple D's in a hole. All right, to be honest with you, I don't think me saying this dude is busting is very inappropriate. I mean, he's busting an assignment. That's how we talk about it in football. This man is busting.
In modern slang, that just means it slaps. That's good.
No, that's bussing. That's different.
That's dropping a T.
Busting with the T is very different than bussing.
Okay.
I think
So
it's
from
better.
now on, this veteran is out here bussing.
Well, that means he's doing a good job then.
I think it's better.
But what if he busting an assignment?
That's fine. You can
All right.
bust an assignment. That's fine. But when you're just
You
busting,
can't bust an assignment.
you can't just bust.
You can't just bust. You have to bust an assignment.
Correct.
All right. Now that I have clarity on this, I might avoid these Diddyisms.
I do think it's probably better that I'm the one running the cameras for film studies.
Dude, there'd be so much giggling,
Giggling,
off
inappropriate
Every
giggling
time.
while
And
I'm trying to
now
work.
you're going to be very conscious about this moving
I don't think so.
forward.
I think it's
I think-
impossible for me to not talk sussly when I'm talking football.
Yeah, I mean,
think it's impossible.
There were some times watching this back, I was like, he's got to be doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, there's like some points where I'm like, there's no way that one flew over your head that quickly. You don't have that clean of a mind.
Which one?
The one where it's like, and then you might just been two guys instead of one busting.
Oh no, buddy.
Two D's in one hole has been
The
said
two
a
D's
lot.
in one hole, that's a statement. That's just the way it is. That is a football expression in my family. In my football family, I wouldn't even say it like that unless I was on air. You know, if I was off air, it wouldn't be two D's in one hole. It would be in one hole. You know what I'm saying? It would be two say the words in one hole. That's how my football coach talked when I grew up playing football.
Maybe that's what leads to the Diddyisms, is that you kind of have to clean it up a little more than you usually would in the film room.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep
Instead of, he's busting an assignment, so-and-so just effing up.
Yeah. No, I would
not-
still be busting an assignment. I mean, you
Busting
can
an assignment's
F up
fine.
and not bust an assignment.
But yeah, that'll be our new segment every.
Play it one more game. Shut up and grind. 50 busted. Right guard's definitely the one who busted, by the way, because either that or two guys busted and one didn't. We got a veteran wide receiver busting. I don't know. I feel something stirring in the innards. And look at that hold. He gets pulled all the way back. And I don't even care about my body. Fuck my body. I'm gonna throw it. I'm gonna throw it at some people. We talk about multiple D's in a hole. Good stuff. Produced by executive producer Christian Kirby right there. That's good stuff. Can't wait for next week's Diddyisms. Doubt I hit as many, even though 10 in 1 hour. That's pretty tough.
That's a good bit.
So we'll see. That's a good segment right there. All righty. Where should we go next?
Where players you want to see more of in week 2?
Let's do that. It is week 2.
Did you?
What?
He took your suggestion.
He let us pick the segment, dude.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I forgot my own
My
bit.
bad.
I forgot my own bit.
No,
I was
don't
supposed to- I
apologize.
was
Dude.
supposed to railroad you.
It's been a monumental night for me, honestly.
You said you wanted to go to players you want to see most of?
Yeah.
Well, I want to go to who you're scared of. Who are you scared of? We have seen
said
some
anything.
college football being played, right? Week 1 is in the books. We are headed into week 2. So if you're a Georgia football fan, listen to this. Hey, who are you kind of fearful of? Let's chalk it out. Who wants to go first? I'll tell you what, I would be scared. I would be scared if I were a Georgia football fan of what's going on in Tennessee, man. That dude's slinging the pill around, but he's not my number one. My number one. Fearful of it. Watched it happen, studied it, took a peek at it, I should say. Alabama. And here's why. Super explosive. Quarterback's legs, man. Quarterback's legs still really, really scare me. Here's the deal. I think I counted on one hand in the first half 5 designed quarterback runs for Jalen Milroe against Western Kentucky. Okay, so if he's out here running the legs of that joker against Western Kentucky, buddy, you're going to get a heavy dose of it this season. That concerns me, numero uno. Number 2, that Ole Miss offense, man, I'm telling you, it's explosive. And here's the deal. You get it at home this year. So there's no excuses for Lane Kiffin. No excuses for a dud. They score 42 points per game over the last 2 seasons inside Oxford. When they leave that place, it is considerably less. Almost half. Is that what the numbers we got last year? Almost half when they leave Oxford. Okay, so they have got to strike some fear into some football teams. I do have Nico number 3, 100%. I don't even think it's Tennessee as a whole. I think it's Nico. And we didn't even see, that's the crazy thing about this. We didn't even see Saturday what makes him the most dangerous version of that offense. Yes, he's the best thrower that they've had there. He is their best runner as well. He is a better athlete than Hendon Hooker. I think he's got more run instincts than Hendon Hooker. Is he as tough at the point of contact as Hendon? Probably not. Hendon's about 240 pounds and really, really thick and runs with a forward lean. Nico does not necessarily do that as much, but he's a much more elusive runner out in space, and we didn't even get to see that on display because why would you do it against UTC? I got them number 3. Number 4, Texas is last for some reason in this. Texas is last. I'm going to wait and see. I'm very much so in wait and see mode on Texas, and we're going to find out. It's good I get to see it this weekend.
See, I would flip-flop Texas and Tennessee for the reason of Nico is in his first year starting as a quarterback. You'd have to imagine there's going to be some green moments to it. Looking at the schedule, they play NC State at home, Kent State at home. They travel to Oklahoma. That's a tough game, tough environment. At Arkansas, away game, SEC, tough environment, but nothing difficult. You're Florida at home, you're Bama at home, Kentucky at home, Mississippi State at home. Then they play at Georgia. Georgia is going to be the toughest environment they play in. And traditionally, young quarterbacks don't have a great track record, especially in Stanford State in the last 5 years. So that's why I would say Texas is probably a little more fearful of that just because you are going into Texas. And that's going to be a very hostile environment.
I think that Alabama certainly has to be number 1 on the list.
Yep.
Because they're still Alabama.
Yeah, because they're still Alabama. And
I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, go ahead.
I know.
Yes,
sorry.
Just go ahead.
It's also just the thought of losing to Bama again that makes that fearful. It adds to it.
That was insinuated by me saying it's still Alabama.
I know, but
I think, though, what also helps Georgia in that football game, not that these two guys are the same player, but I think that playing Brock Vandagriff a week before kind of helps you build into that football game because you do get a good dual threat quarterback. You kind of can scheme. Now, again, not the same football player, but still kind of can scheme against him.
I would push back that they're not the same football player in this sense. The moment the primary read's not open, the first thing the offensive coordinator wants him to do is pull that ball down and scramble. It's the same thought process as a quarterback when dropping back. Do they look different? Do they play a little bit different? Yes. But when the pocket starts to close on them, both of them have a tendency to pull the ball down, take their eyes off of everything, and just go. Right? So, yeah, you're right in the sense that they might be playing the same drop-back passer style of football player. And, oh, by the way, I think Brock Vandagriff is best when he can stand 2 toes down and rip the piss out of a football. I feel the same exact way about Jalen Milroe. I don't want that dude layering balls in. I want Jalen Milroe throwing things as hard as he can. I want him playing the game as hard as he can. I want Brock Vandagriff doing the same exact thing. So you're on the right track here.
That's what they had Brock Vandagriff doing last weekend against Southern Miss. I mean, when you saw anytime he took a throw, he was ripping that thing 100 miles an hour as hard as he could. It looked pretty dang good. But yeah, I think Alabama, plus the environment, having to go to Alabama, that plays a huge factor in this as well. I would put Ole Miss at number 2. I think that the stats at home that you kind of mentioned, that plays a role into this as well. And I just kind of think that they have the opportunity to be the most dangerous offense you play all year. And that's always going to be the case when you play a Lane Kiffin football team. Now, you shut it down last year, but I think that this year it's a different football team because they added so many different pieces to that team. I would put Texas at number 3, making the trip out to Texas alone. And then also Quinn Ewers, a very experienced quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks, obviously, that you can play this year. And then Tennessee. I think having that game at home, getting that game in Sanford Stadium, it's just kind of Kirby Smart's history against Josh Heupel's offense. I think that plays a role, but Nico looked really good, and good quarterbacks are going to be a threat to you no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, Bama's one for the obvious reasons. I have Texas at 2 just because that's such an unfamiliar territory for you. When you go to Knoxville, you know what to expect. When you go to even places like LSU, you kind of have an idea of what to expect. I don't think Georgia's ever played in Austin against Texas, so that's kind of an alarming thing for me. Then it's and also Sark offenses. I mean, that has been one of the few guys that has really been able to dial up against a Kirby Smart defense. Now, granted, it was with the 2020 Alabama team that had just talent on talent, so there's that, but it is something to be like, kind of alarming. That's why Ole Miss is also number 3. Kirby Smart's shown that he can box in a Lane Kiffin offense. Now, again, you were at home when that happened, and they have a wildly less talented team the year before. So it's alarming, but I would still put Texas ahead of that. I have Tennessee at 4 for the reasons of Nico. And it also just feels like they've got a good momentum. They'll have a good momentum coming into that season. It's one of the last SEC matchups for them of the year. So I have Auburn at number 5. For the reason of Hugh Freeze is another one of these coaches that has always seemed, now he's only done it twice, and there were 2 different teams in 2016.
Give you a battle.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze has always kind of been the coach that seems to come with the perfect game plan for a Kirby Smart defense. Like last year against Auburn was the perfect example of that. And also, Georgia's on, I think, its longest win streak of Auburn. Against Auburn, it's been on in like 60, 70 years, I want to say.
Yeah.
So part of me feels like Georgia's kind of overdue for a loss against Auburn. I don't think they lose this game, but the superstition in me kind of worried about that.
Can my ADD brain ask a question right now?
Sure.
None of us have heard anything back from Kentucky Athletic Administration, right?
No.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Because I haven't gotten a hotel either. I don't know what.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what I don't know what we're gonna do. Might sleep in the truck. It's a night game out there. Ooh. Maybe wake up, drive day of. That would be nerve-wracking. Not nerve-wracking. It would just be probably a bad idea. It'd be a real miserable experience. But I want to buy 2 nights worth of hotels in Lexington, Kentucky.
Nah, don't, dude.
So
I'm for the. I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't be going, would I? Because it's only.
I don't know. We applied, didn't we? Off air. Either way.
Let's talk business real quick.
Yeah, let's talk business right quick. Well, my bad. My ADD brain took us there. Players you want to see more of. I got this notes down on page 97, so let's go back to this. It is week 2 of the college football season. We've seen 1 week of Georgia football. What are you looking for in week 2? Who wants to start?
Can I go first?
Sure, if you want to.
Please.
I actually want to start by saying London Humphreys is. I want to see more of London Humphreys as a wide receiver. I think that we got him in spurts this last weekend, and it looked really good. I think that on Saturday we have the opportunity to see him in maybe a more main target in the offense. You know, as the game progresses, maybe London Humphreys slides in at a role where he's just kind of the main target in the offense. You get to see a little bit more of him.
I like that.
Go ahead.
Nah, man. What do you got?
I know as soon as I start talking, you're going to go.
Nah, man. What do you got?
I want to see.
Man, I got to see Dylan Bell. I got to see Dylan Bell route somebody up on Saturday, all right? I don't want to see Dylan Bell get a sweep and take it 85, though that would be nice. I don't want to see Dylan Bell get a back shoulder fade for a 30-yard touchdown, though that would be nice. I want to see Dylan Bell on a double move. I want to see Dylan Bell on a route guide. I want to see Dylan Bell on a comeback. I want to see Dylan Bell route the piss out of somebody from Tennessee Tech because I want to see Dylan Bell develop some confidence as a route runner. I know this guy's elite with the ball in his hands. I want to see him get elite before the ball gets to him. I want to see route and space creation. I want to see confidence built this week from 86. What do you want, Curb? What do you want to see?
I don't want to go anymore.
Nah, come on, for real. I'm going to let you go this time.
I want to see
Oscar Delp. Look, I love that Lawson Lucky is athletic. I love that Lawson Lucky can make some shit happen. But I want to see Oscar Delp get some love, baby. They were playing middle field closed defense was Clemson. I get it. I understand why my man Oscar Delp didn't get a lot of love last week. But I want to see the man number 4 get some love this week.
I want to see Branson Robinson because I feel like last week he didn't really play like the Branson Robinson we saw his freshman season, like he was running against Auburn and against TCU in the national championship. So I really want to see him kind of be more explosive in the run game.
You know, you seem a little sped up there, bud. You okay?
Yeah, I just had to get it in real quick before you guys interrupted me.
Hey, yo. You got one?
Oh damn!
I do have one. I have another one. I should say, Sokovie White. All the rumblings we heard about during
Talk
the spring,
18 to me.
what we saw in the spring game too, as well. Like even if it's just a couple punt returns or anything, like just kind of see the juice on an actual Saturday, not a spring game setting, but on a fall Saturday. I know it's going to be against Tennessee Tech, but I don't care. I think just kind of seeing Sokovie White, see what he brings to the table as a true freshman. That's something I would love to see on Saturday.
Sorry, is it my turn again?
I mean, it can be.
I want to see.
Look, here's the deal. If Michael Williams is going to be out in this football game, I got to see Damon Wilson. I got to see Damon Wilson, okay, get a lot of burn, get a lot of reps, get a lot of opportunities to win some one-on-ones. I got to see Damon Wilson. What?
Chat. I want to see Mr. Hornets Nest himself come out. I feel like he showed a lot of potential in the spring game. I want to see.
Are you talking about Jake Pope double Hornets?
Double Hornets.
Yeah, I want to see some double Hornets too.
Yeah, I want to. He's obviously going to get. I feel like he's going to get some good reps in this game. I want to see what he's capable of.
You think you're going to be comfortable and slow down like that? You think it's like that? Like I'm not going to jump in and tell you. I need to see some Gabe Harris. I got to see some Gabe Harris. I talked about some Damon Wilson. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you right now, from a physical body standpoint, ain't nobody looking more beautiful than Gabe Harris. Gabe Harris looks like an NFL body right now. And apparently Gabe Harris plays like his hair on fire. I want to see more Gabe Harris.
He's got to be out of names at this point, right?
You act like he just wouldn't make one up to do it again? Like you putting that past him?
Yeah, let's see. I want to see
more and more from Kristen Miller. Look, had a great debut. Great week one performance. Kristen, I got to see it compound. Let me see this keep going. Week after week, got to see some more improvement.
I'm going to need you to shut up so I can get through my list for a
I'm
second.
sorry.
Monroe Freeling. I want to see more of him at tackle.
Yeah.
We got to see a good bit of against Clemson. He got slid in earlier in the game than I kind of expected him to, but just kind of see, I think he needs more reps too.
Yes.
Not just a necessity of my selfishness wanting to see Monroe Freeling play. I want to see him just continue to get better, continue to get reps. And by the time he's walking into year 3 for him, it's like Monroe Freeling is the dude.
I want to see Anthony.
I want to see Sam Mpimba come back up into the mix. I know. I want to see the whole outside linebacker room. What's going on? I want to see more and more from everybody who is not named Christian Kirby on this segment.
All right.
Do you have anyone left?
He actually hasn't gotten any of my names yet.
Oh.
Anthony Evans showed a lot of potential in the punt game. I think his ability to field punts showed that he's really a good threat back there. Kirby Smart even talked about after the game of how valuable it is to have a player who doesn't let it bounce and lose you 20 yards. I want to see what he can do at the wide receiver position, though, because I feel like he has a lot of potential to pop there at some point in the season.
Love that for you.
I think people were caught off guard by how little Anthony Evans was involved in the actual offense. Mm-hmm. But I also think that you have to remember too, like Dominic Lovett. That is like what the focal point of your offense in the wide receiver game. So good little call there. I want to see Quintavious Johnson. That's another name I really want to see a lot of because again, going back to like the spring rumblings, the fall camp, sounds like a guy that they're really impressed with. I want to see it for myself. Again, very similar to Sokovie White, one of these true freshmen that I'm just kind of itching to see.
He's jumping at the bit now. I want
to see Gunnar Stockton get some reps.
I didn't have anyone to say
I want to see Gunnar Stockton. You pump fake me?
I pump faked you.
Oh, I'm up off the ground. Keep your feet on it. No, I'm good. I'm out of it. Y'all good?
I've got one more. I want to see Ellis Robinson play more comfortably. I felt like when he came out there in the second half of that game, he was playing a little rushed, a little nervous. You could tell it was kind of, not the moment was too big for him, but he was kind of feeling the pressure of the moment. I want to see him just play loose and play like that 5-star we saw.
I had one more. Just the 3 true freshman linebackers.
Yeah, dude.
I just want to see those. Like,
dude, Justin Williams had a hell of a play Saturday. He just and if you watch what he like how he did it, it's on. He was plugging backside A. He jumped over trash and then just threw his body at the feet of Phil Maffa. It was nuts, man. Great play by him. Super excited to see that inside linebacker core. Because the other thing about them, they're so large, so long, and so athletic that it's almost impossible for them not to flash when they do something. I felt this way about Quay Walker. Even when Quay Walker was doing the wrong thing, he sure did it pretty. You know what I mean? These guys are going to feel like this. I do believe the more and more we hear, the more and more we see, I think this 2024 class is going to be something that we talk about for a long time. 13 of them already made their debut, but I think this 2024 class is going to be something that's almost historical. It's going to be one that we talk about for years to come, as that one reestablished Georgia's second run potentially on national titles. I feel that strongly about them.
Yeah, has there ever been a class that we've seen where this many true freshmen have like not only played but like been like, oh, they could
played a meaningful game?
Yeah, like obviously Brock Bowers in 2021. I can't really think of anyone else who did that for that class of 2021.
I asked him about this today, and he basically said there's probably been years where we've had more play in the first game of the year because we're probably playing Kent State, Murray State, or whoever, and there's a lot of opportunity for young guys to get in. But from these guys were playing meaningful snaps because we need them to play meaningful snaps, this is the most I've seen them play. You know, you talked about 2021, it was Brock. 2022, was there any freshmen that played? Oscar Delp at the end of it.
Malachi.
Ohio State, Malachi Starks, Michael Williams. Okay, last year, were there any true freshmen that needed to play?
CJ Allen, but that was...
CJ Allen, and he didn't start.
And
that was rotational.
Got by necessity.
Monroe Freeling against Vandy. Is that it? Lawson Lucky because of an injury to Brock Bowers as a 2, but not as a starter.
Yeah, only when you went 12.
And this year, they came into this...
Anthony Evans late in the year.
Don't count. But this year, you're going into this as in game 1, KJ, Nate Frazier, Joseph Jonah and Jonier was in the mix before blowout time. I'm talking about like got real burn.
Yeah, he was in the second quarter.
Who else? Those 3.
Oh, wasn't Rod Robb a freshman last year?
Yeah, he was. You're
Yeah,
right.
that's
That's
true.
a good call.
Wasn't Cash a freshman last year too?
No. Redshirt freshman. But either way, there's a lot more guys this year that were already being dependent upon week 1.
But here's it's so weird because I know Kirby's going to talk about how this is because of we're thin at these positions. We're having to start freshmen out of necessity. I think we all can agree with it. We look at the tape and go, these ain't freshmen. These aren't freshmen. Like, I mean,
KJ looks like one still physically. That's what was crazy to me watching the tape. He still can't fill out his pads. We talked about this last night. Still looks very, very small, but does not play small. So no, I mean Nate doesn't look like it.
That's what I'm saying. Like I know the Kirby Smart sees like, oh shit, we're having 3 or 4 freshmen play meaningful snaps for us. We're in big trouble. But it's also like it's almost like they're forcing your hand. Like obviously, like Brock Bowers got the first start of the 2021 season because Darnell Washington was hurt, but he immediately made you realize like, oh shit, this is a guy that we need to continuously have in our rotation. And I feel like that's kind of what happened 3 or 4-fold now. And now I get it's alarming if you're Kirby Smart because it is youth, it is inexperience, but it's still extremely talented.
Hell of a job on the recruiting trail, not only landing 5 stars, but selectively identifying the correct ones. Speaking of recruiting, this 0-2 start for Florida State is paramount for Georgia recruiting for 2 reasons. A man by the name of CJ Wiley and a man by the name of Kevin Wynn. Yeah. Kevin Wynn at one point was a silent commit to the University of Georgia. I stand 10 toes on that one. Goes on an OV to Florida State, and all of a sudden he's a Florida State commit. I wonder how true and how long-standing that Florida State commitment is going to be for one Kevin Wynn. I also feel the same exact way about CJ Wiley. Boys, do you feel like these individuals hold onto this Florida State commitment list, and do you think there's a potential that they might see some deterioration on that commitment list?
It's very I mean, you saw deterioration last year, and there wasn't even you losing. Now, obviously, that was because Georgia came in late and kind of stole KJ Bolden from under your nose. But yeah, the way this 2024 season's turning out for you, and the outlook of your program, and you don't know who your quarterback's going to be next year. It's not great if you're Florida State, and it is very eyebrow raising if you're Georgia. Like, maybe we can go make a splash over there.
I mean, there's serious potential for Florida State to be 7-5 at the end of the year. And I think what would kind of scare me, not just because of where the program is at the end of the year, but also as a high school recruit, the way this team goes about the transfer portal, you have no idea where you're going to stand on that depth chart until spring rolls around, or even into the fall.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Even into the fall, you don't know where you stand on this depth chart. That would kind of make me nervous as a high school recruit, because it's not just something that you're walking into as a freshman where it's, I got to kind of feel where I'm going to be at on the depth chart this first year. It looks like it's going to be every single year. And if another Keon Coleman walks into this mix, or another Jared Verse walks into this mix.
Jordan Travis ain't walking through that door, Mike Norvell.
No, he's not. So that too, the quarterback situation specifically for CJ Wiley, I mean, yeah, it would make me very hesitant, and it would make me think that they probably don't end up sticking there.
I'm sure there's being some phone calls being made. Are we in a dead period right now? Where are we even at?
I have no clue recruiting rules. There's so many damn recruiting rules, and none of them are enforced, so it doesn't matter.
Anyways, yeah, it's a good point. Like they're playing by the rules.
Yeah, like dead period, we can't call them.
Oh, no,
like Florida State wasn't calling DJ Lagway this
My
week.
favorite tweet every year is, "Dear recruits, we are not allowed to contact you. So if I'm ignoring you, don't take offense." Buddy, if you want to talk to me, though, you're definitely talking to me. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Hey, Memphis might give them a sneak.
Could be.
Memphis, not an easy dub?
Nope, not at all.
Shout out to that FedEx money.
Memphis could become the early G5 playoff lock.
Yeah, very well could be. Where do we want to go to next?
Is that it for us?
No, it is not. We have I took a peek at Bama.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if we had extra time, we got another segment we could have done.
What do you got?
Do you remember a while ago we talked about doing some flashback player of the days?
Oh, yeah. You got some new huddles for us?
We did.
Hopefully Huddle will work for us. I don't mind doing that today at all.
That was a problem last time.
Yeah, the old school huddles were shutting down on us. I watched the whole half of Alabama's offense today. I was curious. I'm going to do a film study on it tomorrow and get that out here on the channel. But I want to give you an overview right now and kind of tease it for you. They've got to get more athletic on the offensive line. It is so obvious that they got big boys trying to do little man shit. All right. Now, the good news is it's still Nick Saban's core guts outside of the center. It's Nick Saban's core guts and core recruits. So they're still premier prospects. Do not get me wrong. But just like Tyler Booker's a premier prospect. Tyler Booker's a great offensive lineman. Tyler Booker was not made to run outside zone and pin and pull and do all this stuff and run out in space and block linebackers and block safeties and block corners on more snaps than he is driving 3 techs off the ball. He was born and bred to be a road grader. That is what he is. All right? That's what he was recruited to do. Yes, Alabama has always ran pin and pull, but it wasn't their base running play. Alabama has always been a version of a wide zone football team. They have it in the playbook. It's in there. When Jahmyr Gibbs was there, they ran a lot of it. However, it is not their core identity. It is Washington's core identity. It is Kalen DeBoer's core identity. They're going to have to get much more athletic on the offensive line. And by the way, they're trying to midseason right now. They are making these guys lose weight. Every single one of them has gotten thinner from last year's playing weight. It's why I saw an Alabama fan jump in my mentions talk about, they gave up sacks because their starting left tackle was out in the form of Caden Proctor. That's great. I like Elijah Pritchett for their system better. So you can say what you want about Caden Proctor. He is an NFL tackle. I like the other guy more for what you're trying to do, which is be athletic. 375-pound tackles do not look sexy to me in that system. Okay? Get some more athletes. That is very, very obvious. I talked about it a little bit earlier. This is the most quarterback run game Tommy Reese wasn't even doing it like this. Those 22 or 21 rushing attempts from Jalen Milroe against LSU, buddy, half of those were scrambles. Mm-hmm. If you go back and watch it, most of those are not designed quarterback runs, buddy. They got it in the book. They got it in the book at Alabama right now. All right, he ran 5. I counted 5 designed quarterback runs, and he only threw the ball 9 times. He only threw the ball 9 times in that football game before he was yanked. He ran it, design runs 5 times. It's going to be a part of it. I talked about it pretty extensively on this network in terms of Kalen DeBoer has never selectively chosen a quarterback like Jalen Milroe. So I've never really seen your quarterback design run game package. I don't know what your bag looks like in terms of your design winners at that position with legs. I kind of got a sign of it Saturday against Western Kentucky. Again, if you're running it 5 times in the first half with your quarterback against Western Kentucky in a real football game, I'm betting you're going to average about 15 to 20 totes for that starter. I think that's what we're projecting at this point for Jalen Milroe. I also think if I'm a Bama fan, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, my heart stops every time he stands still. Every time Jalen Milroe, and he does it all the time, and I don't know who taught him this. I don't know why it causes this, but when I see it, I panic, and I'm not even affiliated with it. But every time I see a 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop, whatever it is, when he's in the pocket and he comes to a stop, and his feet come dead still. He does it almost every time the primary read is not open. That terrifies me because your body has stopped. Your momentum has stopped. And guess what? Your location ceases to change when you have stopped. So guess what the defense is doing? Ooh, They are just slowly squeezing on you. And though it might have cost you 2 sacks against Western Kentucky, and you got out of there a couple times and ran for 65 yards a couple of times, some of those games are going to turn into 6-7 game sacks, which is what we had last year, where sometimes you look up and Alabama appears to as if they can't protect their quarterback because their quarterback stands in one spot. And that is a bad habit to have created, and it's something that I see over and over again on tape. But they are video game fun, man. They are video game fun. They run a lot of concepts that you've been seeing on EA College Football. All right. And they play fun. I love the way that they are willing to take shots and willing to be aggressive. And they call, their average depth of target Saturday with Jalen Milroe felt like 30 plus yards. There ain't a lot of easy work on this. It's either easy work or deep work for you. And that's fun for me to watch, in my opinion.
So from a matchup standpoint, just having an aggressive offense that's really trying to put the ball down the field and chunk it, does that benefit Georgia more, or is that kind of, I don't know?
I don't think it benefits anybody. I think if they're good at it, it's going to be a problem.
Okay.
I think that's what Washington presented last year.
Okay.
My questions are, I knew Michael Penix could play that way and still stay ahead of schedule. Meaning, I knew if Michael Penix and Kalen DeBoer called a play, or Ryan Grubb at the time, if they called a play for a 35-yard explosive and, whoever it is, isn't wide open, I felt confident Penix could get to 2, get to 3. Neither of them are open, check down to 4, or protect the football. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to have to, like we talked about a couple of days ago, going to have to train this guy. 1's not open, get to 2, 2's not open, pull it down. You are 3 and 4 and the check down. You're the answer.
Yeah.
Your legs are. Let's go to work. So the driving the ball down the field for Georgia, and whether or not it's a matchup, whatever, the explosives are the problem. You're right. And that's what scares. That's why they're number one. Not because of the voodoo, not because of the Bama curse, not because of none of that. The ability of this offense to remain explosive is what scares me. I think they're going to win football games because of it. Because his legs and his arm, they both win explosively. They do not win boringly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is a big time fun and gun football team from Alabama. It was fun to watch. It's going to be fun to break down for you guys tomorrow. And the very first thing that's going to pop out is, oh my God, they're asking an offensive line to do stuff that they're not comfortable with. Even against Western Kentucky, I think their run game might be a little bit stymied against SEC defenses because Western Kentucky didn't have the speed to run with these guys in these stretches and these outside, misdirection plays, whereas SEC defenses certainly will. So fun to see, fun to evaluate. You got anything else for me?
Question wise, no. There's still so much that has to be seen before these two teams face off. It's kind of just a hypothetical, like, okay, what should we expect come this time? So,
got a question. Are you spying Jalen Milroe? Last year they put 2 on him. You got something over there? You're sneaky
trying.
Geeking? Let's see if it rolls first.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Is it the guy we tried last time?
It is.
Okay.
Do you remember who it was?
Yeah, Channing Tindall.
That's correct.
AKA Jalen Walker, without the Nolan Smith half. It's a no-go?
It's running right now.
Through all the stats and stuff.
Let's see.
Looks like it's going to.
All right, let's do it. I'm down for it. All right, so we got a throwback film of the day, highlight of the day. As if we haven't gotten enough content on the channel today, let's give you some more. I got a chain caught in a lav mic over here. That's good stuff. All right, Channing Tindall. Let's take a look. Oh my God, very questionative swag here from Channing. Channing Tindall looks like one of them nerdy linebackers that kills folks.
Yeah, he's just missing the goggles.
Yeah, that's all he's missing. The goggles and no gloves. Yeah, he's got real nerdy swag. This is interesting. Jersey tucked in?
Yep.
Elbow pads? Who is this?
It's Channing Tindall.
I know, but this guy plays on Sundays?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, great. This was like 8 years ago now.
I would have missed on this eval. Oh my God.
You sure?
Maybe not, but I would have seen him and be like, nah, dog, I can't. I'm such a swag guy.
Corny.
I'm such a swag guy. Unless you just, okay, never mind. Unless you just look like you chew rocks. And if you look like you chew rocks and play defense, I don't care what your swag looks like. Look at his hands, bro. This man got no swag. This man got no football swag at all. He's standing like this in his linebacker stance. What? Bro, shoot. Bro, Shoe out here doing crazy work with this man. This is insane. On a baseball field? Bro, he look like his GPA is 4.65. GPA as high as this 40.
That 40's low.
I know, but like we talking about GPA of 4.41 and maybe a 40 of a 4.41. Neon cleats, though. I like that. A little swaggy right there. But the tape speaks for itself. You're right. This is good tape right here. Man, he looks goofy.
Oh, my God.
Why wasn't that sooner?
There is some spinal work on this, man. His partner in crime right there, number 9, got some juice to him. There's the twitch. Oh, get him down. Where's he from? North Carolina?
This was Oregon.
Huh?
The huddle account said Oregon.
The state of Oregon?
Yeah.
I think he's from South Carolina.
I thought he was from South Carolina.
I think it may have been like he transferred schools, but this said Oregon.
Huh. I thought he was from South Carolina. Either way, some interesting tape.
Yeah, that's a very interesting stance.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, when you see shit like that, it's like, okay, I get why he's goofy.
That's the Hunter Pence of highlight tapes right there. That's the Hunter Pence of linebacker highlight tapes.
Hunter Pence, good shout out.
Yeah, he's from Columbia, bud. Swag don't mean crap if you don't play.
To be fair, though, it says Beaverton, Oregon on his account. But
it's the most Marion Campbell quote I've ever seen in our chat before.
On that huddle clip, it did say that Columbia, South Carolina. So it must have transferred at some point.
Will you do me a favor? Play it again. Shut up and grind. 50 busted. Right guard's definitely the one who busted, by the way, because either that or 2 guys busted and 1 didn't. We got a veteran wide receiver busting. I don't know. I feel something stirring in the innards. And look at that hold. He gets pulled all the way back. And I don't even care about my body. Fuck my body. I'm gonna throw it. I'm gonna throw it at some people. We talk about multiple D's in a hole.
Hey, baby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you guys. Had fun tonight. Had a bunch of laughs, a bunch of good analysis. We'll see you tomorrow for a lot of the same stuff. Love you. Bye.
Hey, we got What If Wednesday tomorrow.